Chapter 81, Scram, copy this 100 times. Hired actor, definitely a hired actor. Zhang Sheng mumbled. Although he insisted verbally, he knew in his heart that this student definitely wasn't one. No matter how much he didn't want to admit this, it was a fact that Sun Mo was truly stronger than him. Upon acknowledging this point, Zhang Sheng's sense of superiority was completely crushed. He pushed away Lu Dai at his side and staggered as he rushed out from the back door of the lecture theater. He could no longer continue watching on, or the amount of envy he felt would explode. He would be so jealous that he wouldn't be able to control himself and might rush up the rostrum to beat Sun Mo up. No one paid attention to Zhang Sheng because the gazes of all the teachers were on Sun Mo. Compared to the commotion created earlier when he treated Wang Gang, everything was silent now. As long as one wasn't stupid, they would know that Sun Mo had true capabilities. Taking a step back, even if Sun Mo did hire actors, he still managed to allow the student to break through after a few minutes of massage. This capability was something even the teachers proficient in massage wouldn't be able to achieve despite them having a few years of experience. What is that ancient dragon capturing hands exactly? Could it be a centigrade cultivation art? Are you joking? Do you take centigrade cultivation arts as cabbages? The teachers started to discuss, but there were no more voices of doubt on Sun Mo. Sun Mo was very satisfied with this result. At the same time, he silently praised Divine Sight. It was truly powerful. It appeared as though Sun Mo had chosen students randomly. But in truth, he had already scanned the data of these students with Divine Sight. The students he had chosen had problems in their bodies, and they could be resolved with the skill he currently possessed. It was just that the teachers here, including Jiang Hanfu and Jin Muji, didn't know Sun Mo's plans. They thought he had chosen the students randomly. This was why Sun Mo's success caused them to feel even more shocked. Zhang Zong, who sat down, finally regained his senses and understood what happened to him. I actually broke through. Seeing the gazes of envy the surrounding students shot him, other than excitement in Zhang Zong's heart, he also felt gratitude for Sun Mo. Originally, he simply came here out of boredom upon hearing a new teacher was giving his first public lecture. He didn't expect that he would actually benefit so much. I've simply profited many times over. Zhang Zong smiled so widely that his teeth were revealed. Ding. Favorable impression from Zhang Zong plus 40. Prestige connection with Zhang Zong unlocked. Neutral. 41/100ths. Seeing Zhang Zong, who was the same as him, being able to break through his bottleneck, Wang Gang felt so depressed that he wanted to cry. Why couldn't the lucky one be him? How good would it be if I can experience Teacher Sun's ancient dragon capturing hands? Wang Gang decided to seek guidance from Sun Mo after the lecture ended. If he failed the first time, he would try a second time. If he failed the second time, he would try the third time. In any case, he had to experience the effects of the ancient dragon capturing hands. Quickly look. Li Ziqi tugged on Lu Xiao's arm. The papaya girl turned and almost jumped in fright. Many students were gathering outside the lecture theater's window. They were like lizards and had their faces pressed on the windows, staring into the lecture theater. Don't squeeze. These students rushed over here after feeling the fluctuating spirit chi. Next question please. Sun Mo spoke. But just when his voice rang out, a boom rang out from the lecture theater's back door. The back door was pushed open as a bunch of students fell down. I said already, don't squeeze. A student grumbled. If you guys want to listen to the lecture, go and find a seat. Sun Mo instructed. The students were like ants scalded by boiling water. They immediately rushed to the seating area and began to snatch seats. After all, they had seen Sun Mo's earlier performance. In the blink of an eye, the empty seats were all filled up. There were even students standing in the lecture theater with depressed looks on their faces. Upon seeing this, all the intern teachers revealed looks of envy. This was Sun Mo's first public lecture, yet the seats were full. Truly awesome. Jiang Yongnian stealthily shot a glance at Jiang Hanfu. The expression of the vice headmaster didn't change. But he knew that this vice headmaster was about to be angered to death. Go and stand behind. Sun Mo's voice was calm, and no hints of arrogance could be heard. It was like the things happening now was something insignificant. This calmness caused Jin Muji to nod in admiration. Next, before Sun Mo could finish speaking, The students in front all raised their hands together. They were like towering trees in a forest, easily causing one to get lost. You have already broken through. Why are you raising your hand? Those seated around Zhangzhou were filled with resentment when they saw him raising his hand. There are already so many people competing for the chance to be chosen, yet you still raise your hand to drag down the probability. Can't you just stand aside? Zhangzhou pretended not to hear anything because he also saw Wang Gang raising his hand. Feng Ziyuan cast a glance at his student, Duan Wu, telling him to move into action. Duan Wu nodded. After that, he stood up and shouted loudly, "Teacher Sun, I have a question I wish to consult you on. Can I ask what are the things that have a connection to spirit chi absorption?" All the students stared at Duan Wu. They were extremely unhappy that he didn't follow the rules, but they were also helpless. Sun Mo didn't reply immediately. Instead, he simply stared at this youth. Duan Wu, 16 years old, a fourth-year student at the 9th level of body refinement realm. Other than the data, a row of red words appeared in Sun Mo's vision. Note: Feng Ziyuan's personal disciple. As expected, he has acted. Sun Mo's lips curled up. "Teacher Sun?" Duan Wu called out. There was respect on his face, but in his heart, he was already planning on making things difficult for Sun Mo. This question was something Teacher Feng prepared. As long as Sun Mo answered, he would continue on with more questions, leading Sun Mo into the hook step by step before killing him. Feng Ziyuan was a veteran with many years of experience. It was effortless for him to find some difficult questions and lay some traps within them. Before I answer your question, I want to say a few things. I can understand your feelings of wanting to urgently resolve your problems. But can you please respect the other students? Why can you ignore the rules and stand up to shout your question, while the others have to raise their hands to wait for their turns? Sun Mo's tone was unfriendly. By doing so, have you considered the feelings of those students whose chance of asking a question was snatched by you? Duan Mu wanted to explain, but he was interrupted by Sun Mo. Actually, I wanted to let this short-haired student ask a question. Now that you jumped the queue, he might have lost his chance of improving his strength. After Sun Mo finished speaking, the short-haired student immediately glared angrily at Duan Wu. It was like his chance of breaking through had been stolen. The other students also started to look at Duan Wu with hostility. Yeah. Why are you the only one that doesn't need to abide by the rules? Duan Mo panicked. He stuttered and subconsciously glanced at Feng Ziyuan. Fool. Feng Ziyuan cursed. By looking at me, wouldn't everyone know that I was the one who told you to do this? All right, I will guide you now. Based on the strength of your muscles, you should be a fourth year, right? It was like Sun Mo didn't notice it as he continued to ask. Yes. Duan Wu nodded. Only a small part of the teachers could tell that this student was indeed a fourth year. Sun Mo's judgment was truly powerful. A fourth year? Why would you ask me such a basic question? Even first years would know. Are you stupid? Sun Mo suddenly scolded. The other party was a personal disciple of Feng Ziyuan. In that case, this question definitely had a trap in it. His earlier outburst was laying the foundation, making the other students feel like their benefits were snatched and making them regard Duan Wu with hostility. Hence, Duan Wu now was like the target of a multitude of arrows. Not only wouldn't anyone feel that his scolding was too over the top, but they might also rejoice in the fact that Duan Wu was scolded. Duan Wu, the other students, and the teachers were stunned. They suddenly felt like asking, "Teacher Sun, why is your temper suddenly so bad?" However, just like what Sun Mo had anticipated, no one felt that his behavior was over the top. I naturally am not stupid. I'm at the 9th level of the body refinement realm. How could a young man endure someone underestimating him? Also, this was done in the view of the public, in front of so many teachers and students. Hence, he immediately rebutted. In that case, you are intentionally asking this question to prank me? Sun Mo questioned. No, I'm not. Duan Wu hurriedly tried to clear the air. Although he also viewed Sun Mo with hostility due to his relationship with Teacher Feng, he would never dare to bear such blame. In the countries of the 9 provinces, respecting teachers was the tradition. If a student dared to prank a teacher, that student could just wait to be expelled. In that case, you are stupid then. Scram. Copy, Introduction to Spirit Chi, 100 times and hand it to me next week. Sun Mo was unhappy, hence, his tone wasn't nice to hear. Ah? Duan Wu was stunned. He subconsciously cast another glance at Feng Ziyuan. There were no solutions to it. Introduction to Spirit Chi was an extremely thick book. If he was to copy the book out 100 times, his hands would definitely be crippled. Did you not hear what I say? Sun Mo berated. Get out. Go and copy the book. Oh, seeing that Feng Ziyuan wasn't speaking for him, Duan Wu could only lower his head and run out of the lecture theater. Ah, our teacher is so smart. Li Ziqi also noticed Duan Wu shooting a glance at Feng Ziyuan, and she instantly understood what was going on. Hence, she couldn't help but laugh out. This time around, Dan Yutang also revealed an amused smile. The majority of teachers and students still had no idea about the undercurrents of this matter, but quite a few with sharp eyes managed to see through everything. Awesome. Jin Muji silently mused. This Sun Mo was so smart, and the main point was that after his successful 2 cases of guidance, who would dare to say that he wasn't capable? Thus, even if Sun Mo tossed Duan Wu out of the lecture theater, no one would feel that he was escaping because he wasn't able to answer the question. Ding. Favorable impression from Jin Muji +1. Prestige connection with Jun Muji, neutral. 5/100ths. Upon hearing the system notification, Sun Mo silently mused at how great the sight of a 3-star great teacher was. His performance from earlier until now was already very good, but he only managed to obtain 1 favorable impression point from Jun Muji. How stingy. Xin Hui looked at Sun Mo and sank into her memories. Was her childhood sweetheart so two-faced? He easily crushed Feng Ziyuan's first play. Feng Ziyuan was stunned. What should he do now? Never did he expect that Sun Mo basically wouldn't give Duan Wu a chance to make him answer the question. Sun Mo swept his gaze over the students and searched for another of Feng Ziyuan's personal disciples. Actually, Sun Mo had guessed that given Feng Ziyuan's status as a 1-star great teacher, he wouldn't enter the fray himself to test Sun Mo. If Feng Ziyuan lost, he would lose face. If he won, it was only to be expected. Hence, there was an 80% to 90% chance that Feng Ziyuan would ask his personal disciples to assist him in making things difficult for Sun Mo. Sun Mo swept his gaze around and his eyes finally landed on a student. His eyes suddenly brightened. Very good. Feng Ziyuan, I'm going to make you lose all your face next. Chapter 82, Real Hammer. Next, Sun Mo spoke. He began to stroll around in the lecture theater. The students raised their hands, and they were all looking at Sun Mo, hoping to be selected. This student, what is your name? Sun Mo pointed to a male student sitting in the 3rd row. He was very handsome and had a pair of sword brows that made him look extraordinary. Ha ha. Feng Ziyuan started. After that, he couldn't help but laugh. Wasn't Sun Mo's luck a little too bad? This student he had chosen was none other than another one of his personal disciples. Will you survive this time around? Feng Ziyuan coldly snorted as he waited to see a good show. Fan Ding, the male with the sword brows, stood up and bowed. Do you have a personal teacher? Sun Mo asked. Fan Ding's handsome sword brows furrowed. He was worried that if he said yes, Sun Mo would respond with a "Why don't you consult your teacher? You don't trust him, or are you making things difficult for me?" Earlier, his junior brother was tossed out of the lecture theater and even had to copy Introduction to Spirit Chi 100 times. He had no wish to follow the same disastrous path as his junior brother. But for this question, Fan Ding didn't dare to lie too. He could only brace himself and reply, "Yes." Feng Ziyuan's smile vanished. Why didn't this Sun Mo play his cards out according to logic? What was the purpose of him asking who was the student's teacher? Luckily, Fan Ding was smart enough to skip the important details. He didn't reveal Feng Ziyuan's name. Oh, who is it? Sun Mo continued to ask. This time around, Fan Ding had no way to continue being perfunctory. His tone was filled with respect as he answered, It's teacher Feng Zhuan. Oh, Sun Mo nodded. The teachers who sat at the back also turned to glance at Feng Zhuan for a while before shifting their gaze back to Sun Mo. Quite a few people had heard about the arranged battle between Sun Mo and Feng Zhuan during the intern teachers meeting. Hence, even by using their buttocks to think, they all understood that there must be something behind the fact that someone like Fan Ding, who was the personal disciple of a great teacher, actually came to listen to a public lecture by a new teacher. If someone said that he wasn't following the instructions of his personal teacher Feng Zhuan, who would believe it? Now, the problem was that should Sun Mo accept the challenge, or would he respond with a, "So you are asking me this? Is it because you feel that your own teacher cannot make it?" The atmosphere in the lecture theater grew heavy. Everyone was waiting for Sun Mo's next action. "Teacher Feng, you wouldn't mind me answering his question, right?" Sun Mo smiled and turned to look at Feng Zhuan. Usually, if a student already had a personal teacher, the student wouldn't easily consult other teachers unless their question lay in a domain that their personal teachers weren't proficient in. If not, it would be a sign of disrespect. "I don't mind." Feng Zhuan also smiled, displaying his grace as a great teacher. "In that case, student Fan, what question do you have for me?" Sun Mo's attitude was amiable. How daring, even for Jiang Yongnian, someone with a personality that made him hard to feel impressed, couldn't help but praise Sun Mo at this moment. Ding. Favorable impression from Jiang Yongnian +1. Prestige connection with Jiang Yongnian unlocked. Current state, neutral. 1/100th. This young man is truly bold. Zushani also praised Sun Mo. Ding. Favorable impression from Zushani +1. Prestige connection with Zushani unlocked. Current state, neutral. 1/100th. Since Fan Ding was Feng Zhuan's disciples, the question he was going to ask definitely wouldn't be too simple. Yet, Sun Mo still dared to accept the challenge. His courage was worthy of admiration. "Recently, my state of mind is filled with distractions during meditation. I have no way to focus my thoughts and calm my heart. I also have no idea what the reason is." Fan Ding consulted. "Isn't your massage technique very powerful? In that case, I'll ask you a question pertaining to the spirit refinement realm. Your massage technique wouldn't possibly be effective toward one's mental state and psyche, right?" Sun Mo didn't reply directly. He stared at Fan Ding. "I already knew that your question would be tricky. But it's fine, I have no intention to answer it anyway." "Teacher?" Fan Ding felt a little scared upon being stared at like this. When Sun Mo's hand suddenly landed on his shoulder, he subconsciously evaded. "Haha, could it be that he doesn't know the answer?" The teachers of Zhang Hanfu's factions all felt joy. "This student, as long as you don't visit brothels so often, you won't find it impossible to focus your thoughts and calm your heart." Sun Mo's voice was calm, yet his words caused an uproar in the lecture theater. "What the hell? Haha, it's so funny that I could die." This is the first time I heard of such an answer. "This can work too?" Everyone in the lecture theater didn't know what expressions they should make upon hearing this guidance from Sun Mo. "He is too frivolous. This is a public lecture. How can Sun Mo say something like that?" Some of the teachers criticized him, as a bitter and hateful look appeared in their eyes. Fan Ding's expression turned malevolent. His face turned red from his emotions as he explained, "I've never done such a thing." "Stop talking nonsense. I would never visit a brothel." Although in the 9 provinces of Middle-earth, things were the same as the ancient eras of China, and there was nothing wrong with men visiting brothels to seek entertainment, such a thing was forbidden for students. If they did this, students who were in their growth period wouldn't only hurt their own body's essence and affect their cultivation, their wills would also become corrupt as they became mesmerized in the feeling of lovemaking. "Is that so? How did you get a venereal disease then?" Sun Mo questioned. Besides Fan Ding, he could see various data floating out. There was a row of red-colored words saying that Fan Ding contracted a venereal disease 5 months ago. This caused his qi and blood to decline in vitality. This was a filthy disease that was highly infectious. It was like a hurricane blew through the lecture theater. A commotion immediately occurred. The students were astonished, while the teachers were frowning. The nature of this question was a very serious one. If it was verified to be the truth, Fan Ding would definitely face expulsion. As a Fan Ding's teacher, Feng Ziyuan naturally couldn't bear it any longer. He leapt from his seat. Teacher son, do you have any proof? How can you speak such nonsense? Feng Ziyuan glared at Sun Mo. If his actions earlier were because of Zhang Hanfu's orders, he was doing so now because he was truly very unhappy with Sun Mo. Fan Ding was handsome and had an extraordinary background. He was someone that respected Feng Ziyuan a lot too. Naturally, the most important thing was that Fan Ding had outstanding talent and was the most elite student under him. Now that Fan Ding was vilified by Sun Mo in this manner, Feng Ziyuan felt like he was seeing his own precious treasure being tainted. So, how could he endure it? He wanted nothing more than to break Sun Mo's head now. Do you know that among the entire cohort of 5th years, regardless of strength or talent, Fan Ding ranks among the top. Even if the number of female students pursuing him doesn't reach 100, there must be several tens of them. Even if he couldn't endure temptation of female charms, he wouldn't visit a brothel no matter what. Feng Ziyuan mocked. From Feng Ziyuan's point of view, if Fan Ding wanted it, he could change girlfriends faster than someone could change shirts. Why was there a need for him to visit a place like a brothel? Teacher Feng, whether he has contracted a venereal disease or not, wouldn't you know if you simply asked him? Sun Mo's lips twitched. Fan Ding, tell him the answer. Feng Ziyuan roared. Teacher son, you are the one with the venereal disease. Your whole family has a venereal disease. It was like Fan Ding found his backbone in Feng Ziyuan. He immediately howled his reply. The atmosphere was suddenly filled with the smell of gunpowder. AI, teacher son is too careless. Does he think that he has got hands and is able to tell what disease a student is suffering from with just a few touches? In that case, why would we still need doctors? Zhangzhou shook his head. He thought that Sun Mo must have felt the earlier situations went too smoothly, hence, he had gotten careless. The majority of teachers had the same thoughts. After all, even if it was a doctor seeing a patient, that doctor would still have to practice the 4 ways of diagnosis: look, listen, question, and feel the pulse of the patient. You don't want to admit it? Or maybe you yourself have no idea about it? Come. Are the teachers proficient in the way of medicine here? Diagnose him. Sun Mo swept his gaze toward the teachers in the back rows. A few teachers that were proficient in medicine didn't move, because if they chose to examine Fan Ding, they would offend Feng Ziyuan. All of them wanted to steer clear of this pool of muddy water. Sun Mo, don't go overboard. Feng Ziyuan roared in rage. Since he has a clear conscience, why is there a need to worry about an examination? Sun Mo shrugged. What happens then after they checked and it's revealed that he doesn't have a venereal disease? Feng Ziyuan spoke overbearingly. I'll find a prostitute with a venereal disease and make you sleep with her. Sure. Sun Mo's answer was calm and collected. However, the teachers here weren't that calm. Wasn't Sun Mo too ruthless? Now, they were talking about venereal diseases. Venereal diseases could be considered as ineradicable diseases. And the most important thing was that contracting this disease was extremely shameful. What should we do? Lu Xiaoyue was very anxious. She grabbed Li Ziqi's arm tightly. Li Ziqi's expression was heavy. In any case, I believe in teacher. Me too. Teacher Zhu. Isn't your side occupation a doctor? Come and examine Fan Ding. After Feng Ziyuan spoke, he glanced at Fan Ding. Don't be scared. For the humiliation you suffered, I will make sure he pays it back with interest. Zhu Shani was old and had a good personality. He always had a smile on his face and preferred to remain neutral. Now that he was named, he couldn't help but hesitate. He had no wish to act. Teacher Zhu, there's no need to hesitate, Zhang Hanfu urged. Xin Huai frowned as she glanced at Sun Mo. Just when she wanted to say something, she saw Sun Mo shaking his head slightly at her and mouthing some words. Don't worry. Because they were childhood sweethearts, Xin Huai understood what he was trying to say. Also, given how confident Sun Mo looked, she decided to believe in him for this time around. Zhu Shani brought Fan Ding out of the lecture theater and went to the toilet. 2 other teachers followed them to act as witnesses. Feng Ziyuan panted angrily as he glared at Sun Mo. He would wait for Zhu Shani's report before using his entire strength to deal with Sun Mo. I will definitely chase you out from school and make it so that you have no way to turn the situation over to save yourself. Feng Ziyuan vowed. The examination didn't take too long. long. About 5 minutes later, the four of them returned. Teacher Zhu, tell us about the results. Feng Ziyuan was impatient. Teacher Zhu swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Speak, Zhang Hanfu urged. No matter what the situation is, just report it honestly. There's no need for you to worry about their reputation. Since they dared to say it, they should already be prepared to face the consequences. Although Zhang Hanfu used the term them, everyone knew he was referring to Sun Mo. This. Zhu Shani glanced at Feng Ziyuan. He wanted to say something but hesitated. Teacher Zhu, you mustn't lie to give face to your colleague. After all, the student in question is here. I can always request other doctors to examine him again. Sun Mo warned. Sun Mo already stated everything so clearly. What else could Zhu Shani do? He sighed and stared at Fan Ding before speaking. This youth has contracted a venereal disease. The timing should be roughly about 3 months ago. Everyone was stunned. All of a sudden, over 100 gazes, filled with disbelief, turned and fixed on Fan Ding. As for the latter part of roughly about 3 months ago, that was no longer important. The words venereal disease was like a real hammer crashing down. No, impossible. Feng Ziyuan grew anxious. His eyes became bloodshot as he shouted, Fan Ding is my most outstanding student. How could he have contracted a venereal disease? You are speaking nonsense. Although Zhu Shani was a nice old man, he would also retaliate after being doubted like this in front of the public. Teacher Feng, if you don't believe me, you can get someone else to examine your student. Zhu Shani snorted coldly. Doubting my medical capabilities? Do you think I don't want my honor? Chapter 83, God Hands. No, it's impossible. I can't possibly have contracted a venereal disease. The originally calm Fan Ding had a look of astonishment on his face. After that, he began screaming. If this matter was verified as real, his future would be finished. Zhang Hanfu's expression instantly sank. Is this real or fake? Upon seeing Zhu Shani coming back, Jiang Yongnian inquired. It's naturally real. However, Sun Mo is truly awesome. Could he really determine the condition of others just by touching them a few times? Zhu Shani's gaze was filled with amazement as he looked at Sun Mo. He couldn't understand this. Could it be that Sun Mo had a pair of god hands? The atmosphere in the lecture theater was very chaotic. The scene was a little out of control. Silence. Jun Muji spoke, activating her priceless advice. A moment later, golden-colored faculars filled the entire lecture theater. The motes of light instantly made the students unable to speak. This great teacher halo would cause the words spoken by a great teacher to be imbued with extreme influence. Ordinary teachers would use this to encourage their students. But at Jun Muji's level, just a single word or action from her, even if she was berating them, the effects produced from priceless advice would be overwhelmingly strong. Sun Mo was shocked. He came in contact with one of the motes of light as well. Now when he wanted to speak, his mouth moved but no sound came out. In his mind, the word silence repeatedly appeared. How impressive! Sun Mo silently praised. This was the strength of a 3-star great teacher. Fan Ding, have you gone to a brothel before? Jin Muji asked. Pu Tong. Fan Ding knelt down before he replied. This was Jin Muji questioning him. When he saw her moon-white robes as well as the 3 golden threads at the side of her collar, he didn't dare to lie. If he lied to a great teacher, his sins would be even greater. Speak. No one was unconvinced by Jun Muji's qualifications when she acted as the arbitrator. Yes. Fan Ding lowered his head and spoke weakly. However, how big was the lecture theater? Everyone could hear his words. Due to the effect of priceless advice, everyone else couldn't speak, but their expressions were fascinating. This was especially so for teachers. All of them were looking at Feng Ziyuan. Fan Ding. Feng Ziyuan roared. He was so angered that he almost coughed out blood. Because he was a great teacher, he had some resistance toward Jin Muji's priceless advice. The effect wouldn't be too great on him. At this moment, Feng Ziyuan was angry and disappointed. Can't you be a little wiser? Given your capabilities, you could choose any girl you wanted to be your girlfriend. Why do you need to go to a brothel? Jiang Yongnian couldn't help but shake his head when he looked at Feng Ziyuan. Why did men go to brothels? Because there was unimaginable happiness to be found there. The temptation of women had always been the grave of heroes. It was all too easy to bury a young man. Teacher, I was wrong. I was wrong. Fan Ding cried. He began to kowtow on the ground because he didn't want to be expelled. The forbidden order for students to visit brothels was something decreed by the school. If one was discovered to have flouted the forbidden order, they would be expelled. Fan Ding, you can head down. The school will announce your punishment tomorrow. Jin Muji no longer questioned him on anything else. She didn't care about Feng Zhuan and Fan Ding's reputation, but she cared about the reputation of the Central Province Academy. A student contracting a venereal disease due to visiting a brothel. If this matter was to spread, the school's reputation would surely be affected. Feng Zhuan didn't know what to say. As a great teacher, his intelligence wasn't too bad. There was also no need for Zhu Shani to lie. Hence, the student that he held in such high regard had really done such a thing that caused him to feel extremely disappointed. Teacher, I don't want to be expelled. Fan Ding panicked. If he was expelled, that would be a black mark on his record. He would definitely be rejected if he wanted to join other schools. So, at the very least, he had to have a certificate saying that he quitted Central Province Academy due to an illness to ensure that his future wasn't destroyed. Plead for leniency. Yes, please help me to plead for leniency. Fan Ding glanced at his fellow students beside him. Swish. The students beside him immediately retreated. They weren't fools. Fan Ding was someone that had contracted an infectious venereal disease. This was especially so for the female student beside Fan Ding. Right now, her face was filled with terror. She was trembling and couldn't even say anything. As long as you don't have an intimate relationship with Fan Ding, you won't be infected. Sun Mo consoled. I didn't. The female student hurriedly made things clear. Fan Ding was so angry that his face became green. Vice Headmaster Zhang, do you have any instructions? Xin Hui asked. Scram, you are expelled. Compared to the tactful Jin Muji, Zhang Hanfu was much more ruthless. What was the use of keeping trash like this? Besides, with the fact that he had a venereal disease, there was no way for him to let that student remain in the school anymore. Fan Ding still wanted to struggle, but he was immediately dragged away by the school's security, who rushed over. Teacher, help me. Fan Ding's anguished screams drifted over from the corridor, causing many people to stretch their heads out to look. Feng Zhuan endured his anger and went back to his seat. He told himself that he mustn't leave now. He had to find Sun Mo's flaw and give him a heavy blow. If not, how could he vent his anger? What an eye-opener teacher Feng's student is. Sun Mo ridiculed. This fellow truly had no thoughts of going easy now that the situation is in his favor. Jiang Yongnian was joyful. He glanced at Feng Zhuan. Even if Feng Zhuan was about to explode from anger, he had no choice but to endure this. There was no solution to it. Who told him to be so confident and say that his student had no problems? There was no way for him to turn the situation around, and now, his face was heavily smacked. Sun Mo, don't harp on such matters any longer. Continue with your lecture. Zhang Hanfu spoke, helping Feng Zhuan to change the topic. Teacher is so awesome. Lu Xiaoyuo was extremely agitated. Ding. Favorable impression points from Lu Xiaoyuo plus 15. Prestige connection with Lu Xiaoyuo, friendly. 298 1,000ths. I already said it earlier. Since Teacher Sun dares to say it, he definitely has confidence. Li Ziqi was complacent. Ding. Favorable impression points from Li Ziqi plus 10. Prestige connection with Li Ziqi, friendly. 156 1,000ths. Awesome. What's going on with his hands? How did he know Fan Ding's situation just by touching him for a little while? Zhangzhou was amazed. Ding. Favorable impression points from Zhangzhou plus 5. Prestige connection with Zhangzhou, neutral. 56 100ths. His hands are simply the hands of gods. He's able to achieve anything. Qi Shengjia sighed in admiration. Ding. Favorable impression points from Qi Shengjia plus 20. Prestige connection with Qi Shengjia, friendly. 478 1,000ths. The system notifications rang out one after another, breaking Sun Mo's line of thought. System, in the future, can you not send out notifications like this so frequently? Sun Mo touched his ears. In the future, there would be many times where he had to teach a class. If the system notifications kept ringing out, how could he focus? Harvesting favorable impression points is a type of joy and encouragement. The system explained. I understand. but it is still too noisy. Sun Mo persisted. Alright then, I will only make a special announcement if there are important favorable impression points. Those that are not so significant, I'll list them out in an announcement separately. The system compromised. That's the correct way. Not going against the host's will is the mark of a good system. Sun Mo returned to his rostrum and glanced at the crowd. Next, the questioning segment will continue. For those who have questions, feel free to raise your hand. The students all thrust their hands into the air. The response was even more frenzied compared to earlier. The teachers were whispering to each other while occasionally shooting glances at Sun Mo's hands. Was the ancient dragon capturing hands he possessed really so powerful? After the lesson ended, they resolved to go to the library and check what sort of cultivation art that was. Interesting. Jin Muji's interest in Sun Mo grew even greater. She couldn't help but recall the moments when he had massaged her. It was truly comfortable. Zuyong raised his hand and stared at Sun Mo. The emotions of unhappiness gushed forth like the tides, wanting to devour him whole. What trash are these people? Leaving aside the fact that there wasn't a single person that could make things difficult for Sun Mo, the students who had asked questions actually allowed Sun Mo to display his skill and increase his reputation. If this continued, Sun Mo's first public lecture would conclude perfectly. No way, this definitely must not happen. It has always been I, Zuyong, who plays with others. Since you have offended me, don't think about having an easy time. Zuyong didn't forget the scene where he had been scolded terribly by Sun Mo. Hence, he squeezed out a smile and shouted with respect in his voice. Teacher, your performance is too perfect. I truly feel a sense of worship for you. Zuyong stood up and applauded madly. The students were influenced and began to applaud as well. Sun Mo glanced at Zuyong. He knew that this person had no good intentions in his heart. Teacher, I have a few questions I wish to consult you on. Compared to the earlier Juan Wu who was too brash, Zuyong was much smarter. He first fawned on Sun Mo before raising a question. The whole process was naturally much smoother. After all, no matter which teacher it was, they wouldn't feel good about rejecting a question from an admirer under such circumstances. Speak. Sun Mo knew that Zuyong had ill intentions, but he wasn't afraid. As long as Zuyong dared to look for trouble, he would let Zuyong know why the flowers were red. We have already witnessed the splendor of your ancient dragon capturing hands. It's very powerful. I feel that it isn't an exaggeration to call your hands as god hands. Zuyong laughed. The students whispered to themselves. All of them felt that Sun Mo's ability to be familiarized with the situation of a student after touching their muscles was truly a little too powerful. They didn't know that Zuyong's words were putting Sun Mo at a disadvantage. The higher Sun Mo rose, the more painful it would be when he fell. Could an ordinary teacher handle such fame? We all know that you are Headmaster N's fiancée. In that case, other than God hands, do you have any other outstanding points that caused Headmaster N to admire you? Zuyong blinked and stared at Sun Mo with a look of admiration on his face. Yet, he was coldly laughing in his heart. HMPH, I'm giving you a chance to showcase your brilliance. I don't believe you won't be hooked. In the school, Xin Hui could be said to be the goddess of all male teachers. They already found Sun Mo unpleasant to the eye due to this matter. If Sun Mo really fell for the trap and began to speak about his other plus points, the male teachers would definitely feel even angrier. At that time, if no one came to look for Sun Mo for trouble, Zuyong would change his surname to Sunday. In the lecture theater, the students created a commotion upon hearing this. What? Teacher Sun is Headmaster N's fiancé? Doesn't it seem that he is a little unworthy? What points does Headmaster N like in him, let alone those of senior year? Even the new students knew the intimidating background of Xin Hui. Now that they suddenly heard that Sun Mo was her fiancé, all of them felt extremely shocked. This Zuyong is indeed cunning. Jiang Yongnian's lips twitched. Although Zuyong looked like he was praising Sun Mo, there was a needle hidden in between the silk floss of his words. No one knew how Sun Mo would handle this. If he couldn't give a proper answer, Sun Mo would then become the public enemy of all the male teachers in the school. Chapter 84, Great Teacher Halo. prestige exploding forth. There's no need for me to say anything. Just come for my lessons a few more times and you will know my outstanding points. Sun Mo wouldn't fall for such a shallow trap. Is this not considered bragging? I know that the quantity of students in a lecture is one of the criteria to determine a teacher's teaching capability. It would also affect a teacher's salary. By asking me to come a few more times, are you planning on using me to boost your popularity? The truth triumphs over all rhetorical discussion. You will know areas where you are insufficient in as long as you come and attend a few more of my classes. Sun Mo's tone was calm. However, his words contained a different meaning in the ears of people like Jin Muji and Xin Huai. Sun Mo was belittling Zuyong because the latter intentionally wanted to provoke him. He wanted Zuyong to be angry and lose his calm. After that, Zuyong would surely reveal his flaws. All young people were proud. When Zuyong heard Sun Mo saying that he had areas where he was insufficient in, his anger immediately surged as he couldn't help but rebut. Sorry, I don't have time. My teacher is Teacher Xu Shaoyan, a 2-star teacher. He has also praised me before, saying that I'm a genius. After speaking, cries of admiration rang out from the surroundings. Upon seeing the looks of envy in the eyes of these students, Zuyong was complacent. Also, my father hired a private tutor for me, and he is also a 2-star great teacher. So, I have no time to come and listen to your lessons. Zuyong's words made his intention clear. Can your teaching capabilities be compared to my 2-star teachers? In the lecture theater, the voices of envy grew louder. As expected, Zuyong's clan is truly wealthy. Is there even a need to say? His father is a famous magnate of Jinling. I heard that even their bowls for dining are made of gold. Zuyong is already a genius. He also has so many great teachers guiding him. Most probably, we didn't need to think about catching up to him in this lifetime. The students discussed, feeling very depressed. Zuyong could enjoy countless educational resources. This was simply too luxurious. Upon hearing the whispers in the surroundings, Zuyong looked at Sun Mo as his sense of superiority erupted forth. This is my true attitude. Are you afraid now? Oh, you mean that you don't trust Teacher Xu Shaoyan? Sun Mo retaliated. Ah? Don't talk nonsense. Teacher Xu Shaoyan is my esteemed teacher. Zuyong hurriedly clarified. What a joke. Xu Shaoyan was currently seated at the back of this lecture theater. If Sun Mo's words were heard by him, Zuyong would definitely be out of luck. Since you already have Teacher Xu's guidance, why is there a need to hire a private tutor? Sun Mo counter-asked. Because. For a time, Zuyong didn't know what to reply. He knew that he mustn't reveal the true answer. If he did so, that would be disrespecting Teacher Xu. For descendants of wealthy clans like them, they would be the future successor of the clans. Hence, they had to be heavily nurtured. How could they only have a single teacher? After all, it was impossible for Xu Shaoyan to answer Zuyong's questions anytime and anywhere every single day. He also couldn't focus all his attention on a single student. Hence, Zuyong needed a private tutor. After all, things would be much more convenient then. Because what? Sun Mo continued to ask, not giving Zuyong any time to think. He wanted to force Zuyong to say something wrong. The fact that your father found a private tutor for you means that you don't trust Teacher Xu. Earlier, when you spoke about your private tutor being a 2-star great teacher, your tone was filled with arrogance. This was something that everyone heard. Zuyong couldn't help but turn his head and snuck a glance at Xu Shaoyan. As expected, Xu Shaoyan's expression was unsightly. Xu Shaoyan was determined not to look at him. Upon thinking of Xu Shaoyan's petty personality, Zuyong began to feel a little anxious. You can't find any excuses anymore, right? In truth, from the bottom of your heart, you basically don't trust Teacher Xu at all. Sun Mo's tone grew overbearing. Stop farting, it is not true. Zuyong panicked. He only thought that his background would sound more impressive if he mentioned that he had 2 teachers. He wanted to suppress Sun Mo by making it seem that Sun Mo wasn't able to be compared to his teachers, who knew that Sun Mo used this point to attack him instead. This brat is finished. Upon hearing Zuyong saying the word farting, Li Ziki knew that Sun Mo was going to start a massacre soon. Zuyong. Sun Mo shouted, who did you say was farting? In the entire lecture theater, other than Sun Mo's roar, everyone else instantly fell silent. So, Is this your attitude when facing teachers? Apologize now. Sun Mo berated. The gazes of the students in the surroundings landed on Zuyong, making him the center of the spotlight. Stand up and apologize. Sun Mo's tone was strict. I don't care who you are, as long as you committed a mistake, you have to accept the punishment. Zuyong looked at Sun Mo. The other party's aloof and high-up appearance, as well as his intense tone, made Zuyong feel even unhappier. He lifted his head and shouted, I'm not wrong. A commotion broke out among the students. All of them stared at Zuyong in shock. What can you do to me? At most, you can only chase me out from this lecture theater. In any case, I'm not your student. Even if you want to deal with me, you won't have a chance to. Upon thinking of this, Zuyong calmed down. Apologizing? Don't even think about it. This daddy's face is much more valuable than your face. Because he was the son of a magnate. In addition to him having some talent, Zuyong could be considered a tyrant here. If the news of his apology was to spread, wouldn't he lose all his face? Moreover, if Sun Mo couldn't handle him, Sun Mo's prestige would be damaged. Everyone would know in the future that he had no way to handle a student. This fellow is too loathsome. Qi Shangjie was very angry, wanting to rush out to hit Zuyong. I feel like killing him. Lu Xiaoyue was also extremely indignant. Don't worry. Since he offended our teacher, he's definitely dead for sure. Li Ziqi consoled in a low voice. Are you sure you don't want to apologize to me? Sun Mo frowned. He appeared very angry but was actually laughing in his heart. I was afraid that you would really apologize to me. If you did so, how could I still openly act against you? Stop talking nonsense. Since he had already offended Sun Mo, there was no need for him to remain polite. Zuyong stood up and prepared to leave the lecture theater. His own teacher was the two-star great teacher Xu Sheoyan, and his father was a huge magnate Zhu Yuanzai. So what if he scolded Sun Mo? Would the school dare to expel him? His father would always give a large sum of money to assist the Central Province Academy every year. If they expelled him, they didn't even need to dream about getting a single copper coin. Why are you guys still standing here in a daze? Let's go. Zuyong called out to his bunch of friends. All these students took Zuyong as their leader. Their parents either worked at their workshop of the Zhu clan or they were loyal servants of the Zhu clan. No matter how much they knew that Zuyong was in the wrong, if they defied Zuyong, their families would all be implicated. Hence, all of them stood up and followed after Zuyong. Zuyong glared at Sun Mo. Come bite me if you are capable. Sun Mo didn't stop Zuyong. Instead, the former merely raised his hand and pointed his finger at the latter. Pack. A large amount of golden light shot out from Sun Mo's finger. It looked like sparks that manifested from the striking of a flint. The golden light shone dazzling and swiftly took the form of a sharp golden arrow. Swish. After the arrow formed, it shot straight toward Zuyong. Just when Zuyong's bunch of friends wanted to warn him, the golden arrow already shot into his mind. The immense might caused his head to involuntarily roll back. When his head was in its normal position once more, Zuyong's eyes already lost their luster and focus. They were as dim as dead ashes, and his throat also issued unintelligible noises as he simply stood like that at his original location. It's a great teacher halo. Qi Shangjie called out in excitement. Ignorant and incompetent. The bunch of friends subconsciously retreated a few steps back as they looked at Sun Mo. That was the great teacher halo, ignorant and incompetent. After getting hit by it, one would temporarily become an idiot. Zuyong could be considered handsome and confident. But now, his mouth was drooling and his saliva made his clothes wet. He truly looked like a retarded fool now. Do you all still want to leave? Sun Mo asked. The bunch of friends directly shivered. They didn't dare to match their gazes with Sun Mo and returned to their seats with their fastest speed. My heavens, it's actually the ignorant and incompetent halo. Haha, Zuyong was truly asking for it. This time around, he has rammed his toes into a steel board. Just based on the fact that he dares to teach Zuyong a lesson, I'm going to be his die-hard fan from now on. As long as he is the one giving the lecture, I will definitely appear. The students spoke to each other. Their faces were filled with excitement. This school tyrant, Zuyong, was extremely infamous in school. For the senior year students, even if they hadn't been bullied by him before, They had definitely seen him bullying others. Those that were bullied were truly tragic, hence, most students would actively avoid him as they were afraid that they might be targeted. After the teachers saw Zuyong cursing at Sun Mo, they knew that this brat was in for it. It was just that they didn't expect Sun Mo's punishment would be to use the effect of a great teacher halo. Honestly speaking, this was truly impressive. At this moment, all the intern teachers wanted nothing more than to be the one standing on the rostrum, casting a great teacher halo and stunning the entire crowd. Teacher is so awesome. Lu Xiaoruo applauded excitedly. Ding. Favorable impression points from Lu Xiaoruo plus 20. Prestige connection with Lu Xiaoruo, friendly, 381 thousandths. Damn, Sun Mo has gotten into big trouble now. Jiang Yongnian snuck a glance at Zhang Hanfu before turning to glance at Xin Huai. In the vast majority of schools, there would always be a few students with special privileges. These students couldn't be dealt with normal methods. Zuyong was coincidentally one of these students. Headmaster and this great teacher halo by Sun Mo was well casted indeed. Zhang Hanfu praised. Xin Huai didn't reply because she knew that Zhang Hanfu was being sarcastic. Jin Muji surveyed Sun Mo. He should have been planning to use this from the time when Zuyong asked the first question. What a good schemer. Indeed, no matter what, Sun Mo was someone with 6 years of experience as a teacher in charge. He knew that young people like Zuyong valued their face a lot. They were prideful and vain and were usually extremely arrogant. Now that he wanted Zuyong to apologize, this was even tougher compared to him willing to get beaten up. This was why Sun Mo would be so overbearing. He wanted to force Zuyong to curse so he could openly and justifiably teach Zuyong a lesson. Would it be bad since I just schemed against a student? Sun Mo asked the system. For trash like this, if he doesn't get expelled as soon as possible, should he be allowed to stay in school and harm the other students? The system fully supported Sun Mo's actions. After activating Divine Sight, Sun Mo could see the various status of Zuyong. The note the system wrote was, "This guy is trash. Quickly kick him out of school so others can have a comfortable environment to study once again." This was the first time Sun Mo had seen such a merciless evaluation. Since Zuyong kept targeting him deliberately, Sun Mo decided to teach him a lesson. Ding. Congratulations, you gained a total of plus 356 favorable impression points. All of a sudden, a system notification rang out, causing Sun Mo to jump in fright. This was especially so after he heard the terrifying number of points. He was incomparably shocked. So many points. There were a total of 77 people who dislike Zuyong. On average, each of them contributed 3 points. This can already be considered little. The system explained. Because Sun Mo taught the school tyrant a lesson. He was a hero in the hearts of those students. This was why favorable impression points and admiration were generated. Speaking of which, the number of favorable impression points I've accumulated should have exceeded 1,000 already, right? Because Sun Mo had been too busy during these few days, he forgot to ask about it. Where's my achievement reward? You wouldn't have embezzled it, right? Chapter 85. Best in the Central Province. Gao Ben held onto a piece of chalk and wrote down words of wisdom on the blackboard. Each word he wrote was magnificent and elegant. Ha ha, putting aside what I've written, just this beautiful calligraphy alone should be enough to shock the students, right? Gao Ben was very satisfied. In order to achieve this effect, he had secretly practiced writing these words for over 1,000 times. It was true that the students were creating a ruckus, but it was because of the huge noise coming from outside the lecture theater. What happened? I have no idea, but there's such a big ruckus. Should we go and take a look? The youngsters were all brimming with curiosity. When this thought came up, they could no longer suppress it. Therefore, some of them started to hunch over and slip out from the back door. By the time Gao Ben finished filling up half the blackboard and turned around, he was stunned. There had been over 200 students at the beginning, but now there were just a little over 100 of them. Many of the seats were emptied. In that instant, Gao Ben started to doubt life. Had he not done well enough? However, he immediately calmed down. No, it's not because I'm not good enough. It's because the students who left are unable to understand how outstanding I am. All right, Let us continue. It was fine. Even if only 100 students were coming for his lecture, it was enough. After the class, they could spread words of how good he was. Very soon, many more students would come to attend his classes. As for how many students had gone over to Sun Mo's side, sorry, Gao Ben had never thought of Sun Mo as his opponent. He won't have as many as I do. Gao Ben was very confident. Ding. Congratulations, you've completed reaching 1000 favorable impression points achievement. Rewarded with a black iron treasure chest. Please keep up the good work. The system's congratulation was monotone as usual. It was just going about with its job. A big treasure chest that was flashing in a black iron glow appeared in front of Sun Mo. Keep it. Sun Mo instructed the system like a master giving orders to his maid. He didn't despise it even if it was a black iron treasure chest. Anyway, the chances of an item coming out from it were higher than a lucky treasure chest. However, the next achievement would be to accumulate 10,000 favorable impression points. This would probably need to take 1 to 2 months. How many favorable impression points do I have now? Sun Mo asked. 1,780. That wave earlier had increased quite a lot. If it wasn't because he was still in the midst of a class, Sun Mo would want to whistle to celebrate. The Star Moon fruit, worth 1,000 points. After taking it, one's cultivation realm would increase. Remark: it has amazing effects especially on people in the spirit refinement realm. Sun Mo's cultivation level could only be considered at the bottom of the mid-tier amongst the intern teachers. However, it was fine. He'd be able to catch up after eating a few more Star Moon fruits. Happy. Sun Mo couldn't help but snap his fingers. This gave Zuyong's trashy friends a bad scare. 2 of them subconsciously bent over and hid under the table. 3 of them, who were more cowardly, immediately shot up to their feet and apologized loudly. Teacher, I was wrong. There was no other way around it. They were really scared. They saw how Zuyong was drooling. Even though he had banged into the wall, he still continued to bang forward vigorously, not knowing that he should make a turn. To be disciplined by ignorant and incompetent? I'd rather die. Youngsters cared about their faces. There was no way they would want to become idiots and be watched on by the crowds. Sit down. When Sun Mo spoke up, the entire classroom instantly fell silent. Compared to earlier, the students were instantly a lot more docile. All the students who had been sitting sluggishly were now sitting upright, being extremely docile. This was the deterrence of a great teacher halo. You don't want to listen? Do you believe that the second ignorant and incompetent would hit you on the head? The intern teachers all looked very envious. With Sun Mo having grasped this great teacher halo, there'd be no students who would dare to create trouble in his classes. Alright, if there are any other students who still have any doubts against me, you can continue to raise questions. Sun Mo scanned the entire lecture theater. The students didn't dare to look into Sun Mo's eyes. Wherever his gaze landed, the students would either turn to avoid it or break into a smile. The intern teachers were so jealous that they were losing appetite for their dinner tonight. After Sun Mo's gaze brushed past these students, it landed on Zhang Hanfu's face. At the sight of this, Jin Muji couldn't help but praise him. This guy really has guts. You're just a newly employed teacher, but instead of currying up to Zhang Hanfu, who possesses great authority, you're challenging him instead. He had guts. Ding. +1 favorable impression points from Jin Muji. Prestige connection with Jin Muji. Current state, neutral, 6/100ths. Feng Ziyuan clutched his fists tightly, his countenance turning grim. There was a challenge between him and Sun Mo, so he was Sun Mo's target. However, Sun Mo didn't even throw a glance at him. What did this mean? Sun Mo felt that he was just Zhang Hanfu's lackey and wasn't worth being his opponent. This is atrocious. No matter how good-tempered Feng Ziyuan was, he couldn't stand to be neglected like this. He was just about to create trouble when teacher Fang Chen, who had doubted Sun Mo earlier, stood up. Teacher Sun, I have a question. Fang Chen's tone was cold. It looked as if Sun Mo's first public lecture was going to wrap up perfectly. How could he accept this? If Sun Mo were to gain fame from this class, Fang Chen would become Sun Mo's stepping stone. Therefore, he must give Sun Mo a blow. Fang Chen looked at Sun Mo, worried that the latter would shy away and avoid his question. Therefore, before Sun Mo said anything, he spoke out again in an attempt to spite him. Why? You can't be scared, right? The atmosphere in the classroom instantly tensed up. "Please go ahead." Sun Mo raised his hand, gesturing for Fang Chen to continue. "What do you think of your judgment in selecting students?" There was no way that Fang Chen was going to shy away from this. "Best in the central province." Sun Mo spoke very calmly. The moment Sun Mo finished saying this, the crowd rang out with a series of gasps. The teachers, especially, were all stunned. "This is only your first public lecture today, but you dare boast like this? Too arrogant." Such nerves. But if a teacher doesn't even have this bit of confidence, how are they going to teach students? Is this bit? Out of 100% worth of confidence in the Central Province Academy, I think Sun Mo alone takes up 99%. The teachers spoke amongst themselves, but most of them gave negative ratings. Sun Mo had spoken too arrogantly. Even a secondary saint wouldn't dare to say something like this. How were a student's aptitude and growth potential? These would only be completely shown after several years. Who would dare to say that they wouldn't misjudge someone? "Hey, Sun Mo, at least you know your limitations, not saying that you're the best in Jinling." Fang Chen sneered, feeling overjoyed. Sun Mo was going to be a target of everyone's scorn. Sun Mo stared at Fang Chen, his lips curling up into a cold smile. "This teacher, your capability to understand things is too weak. You better go back and read more books." The Central Province I'm referring to isn't the Central Province Academy, but the entire Central Province. This time around, there wasn't any commotion. It was as if a cold current from the frozen north had swept past. Instant silence. It turned out that Sun Mo was a lot more arrogant than they had thought. He wasn't referring to being the best in the Central Province Academy, but the best in Central Province. The third largest province amongst the 9 provinces, with the second greatest population. Xin Hui looked at Sun Mo as if she no longer recognized him. That tail that liked to follow behind her when they were young had now grown up to have such an air of dominance. TSK. Jin Muji looked at Sun Mo's gaze and noticed that he wasn't feeling uneasy, nor did he have any hesitations. He was brimming with confidence. Of course, Sun Mo was confident. He possessed the Grand Master grade divine sight, and he was able to see all sorts of concealed attributes, let alone one's potential value. "Gixuk-san, what are you looking at?" "I'm talking about you, you masochist." This was when it was only at the Grand Master grade. If he were to open up a few more time emblems and bring it up to the Ancestor grade or even the Legend grade, then the divine sight would become a lot more amazing. Gixuk-san had graduated as the top scorer from the Myriados Academy. She was a genius that everyone held anticipation for, and she was confident and arrogant. She subconsciously wanted to stand up and retort Sun Mo, but when she met his gaze, her body stiffened up. What kind of gaze was that? It was clear, deep, confident, arrogant, and looked as if it could see through everything. Oh my! When Sun Mo looked at her with this gaze as if he was looking at trash, Gixuk-san suddenly twisted her body, feeling as if all of her clothes had been removed. She felt completely exposed, as if she was unable to hide any secrets. This guy is really detestable. No one had dared to look at me with such an arrogant gaze. What right do you have? I'm not trash. Gixuk-san was used to being revered and treated as a genius. She was bellowing in her heart. But why did she have a strange feeling after being looked at by Sun Mo with this kind of gaze? Teacher will get into big trouble for saying this. Li Ziki was worried. Great teachers were all proud. Sun Mo would definitely attract challengers for being so arrogant. Lu Ziruo nodded vigorously. Tang, who had been completely unconcerned all this while, now wore an interesting expression. Ding! +1 favorable impression points from Tang. Prestige connection with Tang. Current state, neutral, 2/100ths. The sudden notification took Sun Mo by surprise. Even the honest Qi Shengjie didn't show admiration for him after he had said this piece. However, this Tang contributed a favorable impression point. He really is a nutcase. Sun Mo decided that he had to take more notice of this student in the future. As for the commotions from the surroundings, Sun Mo didn't pay them any heed. During this period, people kept calling him as someone who sponged off a woman, looking down on him, suspecting him, and treating him with disdain. Sun Mo had had enough. This was a good opportunity. So Sun Mo decided to vent out this frustration. Not satisfied that I said this, then come up and let's have a challenge of our judgment. Sun Mo, who possesses divine sight, can beat the hell out of any challenger. You're saying that you're the best in Central Province with your judgment? Then why did you choose that young man who has the word trash on his forehead? Fang Chen smiled. Sun Mo, let's see how you're going to handle this. No cultivator would draw spirit runes on their body before they came of age. It was because as their body grew, the spirit runes would change its form and become ineffective. Drawing runes was an irreversible process. Due to this, even if this young man who had the word trash on him used to be someone with outstanding talent, he was now trash. Chapter 86, Black Doggy Sun acts up again. Hearing this, Jiang Leng's expression fell. He subconsciously raised his hand to cover his forehead. Even freshmen knew better than to recklessly draw spirit runes on their bodies. Therefore, everyone was surprised when they saw Jiang Leng's appearance. Who on earth had been so heartless as to draw on a trash on this disciple's forehead? Seeing Jiang Leng shrinking his shoulders, wanting to hide, Sun Mo was filled with fury. He glared fiercely at Fang Chen. May I ask how many stars you have as a great teacher? Sun Mo's tone wasn't polite at all. If you have any problems, just come at me. Why are you bringing in my students into this? He could imagine how upset Jiang Leng must be feeling, to be looked at by so many people with a strange gaze. Ugh. Fang Chen was speechless. He had no stars. Of course, there were quite a number of teachers in the school without any stars. However, when he was asked in a situation where several hundred people had gathered together, he felt embarrassed. Looking at how you're stuttering, I guess you have no stars. Sun Mo sneered. I was only short of 10 points last year. I'll pass the St. Gates test this year and get the certification for a 1-star great teacher. Fang Chen explained. Then can I ask how many students you have? Sun Mo's gaze was icy cold. 11. At the mention of his student count, Fang Chen felt proud again. Over the past few years, he had taken in a few students with his reputation. Although their aptitude was ordinary, they were still his personal disciples. That's quite a lot. Sun Mo praised. It's acceptable. Fang Chen quickly took a peek, wanting to check out if anyone was looking at him with an envious gaze. Out of them, how many have gotten onto the Green Cloud rankings? Sun Mo continued to ask. Hearing this question, Fang Chen's countenance changed, and he spoke harshly. Sun Mo, are you a real fool or just acting like one? You think it's so easy to get into the Green Cloud rankings? Why isn't it easy? Both Headmaster and Xin Huai and Teacher Jin Muji have students who have gotten into the Green Cloud rankings. Even Teacher Liu Mubai has won. Why can't your students do the same? Sun Mo asked. Don't try to shun the questions and make excuses. I'm the one asking the questions now. Fang Chen's countenance was grim. How could his students' aptitude compare against them? Is it because their aptitude is too bad? Since their aptitude is bad, why did you take them in? Was it a misjudgment from your part? Sun Mo spoke each word very clearly and kept shooting off. Or is it because your standard is too low and isn't able to teach them? Sun Mo, other than saying unreasonable things with your glib tongue, what can you do? Fang Chen reprimanded. It was because he was unable to reply to Sun Mo's questions. Was he going to say that his student's aptitude was bad? That would create a distance between their teacher-student relationship in the future. To acknowledge that his guidance capability was too weak, Fang Chen wasn't that open-minded yet. You're a 40-year-old teacher, but you aren't even a great teacher. What rights do you have to doubt my eye for picking students? Sun Mo retorted. If it wasn't because Fang Chen had dragged Jiang Leng into this, Sun Mo's attitude wouldn't be as bad. You're the one who is 40 years old. Everyone in your family is 40 years old. I'm only 35 this year. To a teacher, I'm still in my prime, Fang Chen retorted back. If you round it off, wouldn't that be 40 years old? Aren't you ashamed that you still haven't gotten any achievements despite your age? Sun Mo went all out. If I were you, I'd definitely coop myself up at home and devote myself to my studies. By coming out to have a look at someone else's class? Are you too bored? You. Fang Chen's face flushed up. He pointed at Sun Mo, feeling so angry that even his fingers were trembling. What the hell is with the rounding off? Chuckled Jin Muji. And Xin Huai frowned. her impression toward Fang Chen plunging rapidly. It was normal for there to be competition between teachers, but why did he have to bring in the students? You what? You're 40 years old, but you're not yet a one-star grade teacher. You've only taken in 11 students, and yet you're feeling so pleased with yourself. The most important thing is that you have no achievements to show for yourself. Where did your sense of superiority come from? On what basis do you dare to stand up and question me? My heart aches for your students. To think that their teacher doesn't even strive to improve himself. If I were in their shoes and when others asked me what level my teacher is at, do you think I should lie or say the truth? If I were to say the truth, others would laugh at me for being trash, unable to study under a great teacher. What do you think I should do? Beat the person up, or to come back to you and cry? Sun Mo reprimanded. Step down. I don't wish to answer your questions anymore. The entire lecture theater was silent. All the students looked at Sun Mo with wide open eyes and mouth agape. They couldn't believe that he had shot his mouth away at a senior teacher who had been teaching for over 10 years. The most important thing was that all the things he shot off made sense. Students would be very proud if their teacher was a great teacher. When they went out, not only would they be proud to speak up, but their voices would also be louder than others. If it wasn't because they were too weak and knew that they'd never be able to study under a great teacher, who wouldn't be willing to become the disciple of a great teacher. It didn't need to be much. Even a one-star great teacher would do. PFFFT. Fang Chen wasn't able to retort. He spurted a mouthful of blood and his body swayed. His face was pale and his lips were twitching. A huge sense of disappointment and inferiority filled up his chest. Fang Chen had thought about these things before. Or rather, any teacher with a hint of pride and shame would have thought of them. There was a rule for the great teacher's qualification exam held by the Saint Gate. One would need to pay the examination fee. Fang Chen had taken the test 9 consecutive times, and the examination fee he paid each time kept on increasing. Although his heart ached for the money he had to spend, he still didn't give up. This was because he wanted to get the title of a one-star great teacher. That way, his personal disciples could proudly say that when they went out. The scab on this wound was peeled open by Sun Mo, and it was bleeding profusely. Fang Chen no longer had any plans on keeping up with the argument. He pushed away the people next to him and walked out of the lecture theater, being unsteady in his footsteps. He hadn't walked far before he fell to the ground. Oh my, a teacher has fainted. A student cried out. Thankfully, there was a great teacher here who had medical skills. The person quickly went out to give him treatment. The lecture theater was still quiet. However, everyone's heart was shaken up. Sun Mo really had a sharp tongue. Every word he said really pierced one in the heart. Fang Chen was so pitiful. He had probably been pricked into a sieve. Teacher is so amazing. Lu Xiruo mumbled softly. Ding. Plus 20 favorable impression points from Lu Xiruo. Prestige connection with Lu Xiruo. Neutral 338 1/100ths. Jiang Leng didn't wear any expression, but he supplied a lot of favorable impression points. Ding. Plus 30 favorable impression points from Jiang Leng. Prestige connection with Jiang Leng. Neutral 70/100ths. I knew that things would turn out this way. Li Ziqi didn't find it strange. It would be surprising if Sun Mo was unable to win. After the matter with Fang Chen, many teachers, who had wanted to make things difficult for Sun Mo, backed off. His tongue was too sharp, and they were unable to win against him. Sun Mo, he should be called Black Doggy Sun instead. That's right. He's simply a mad dog. There's no end to it once he starts biting someone. He was really like a wild dog that had broken off from its leash. It's so scary. All these teachers who were mumbling away belonged to Zhang Hanfu's faction. They knew that Sun Mo had offended Vice Headmaster Zhang and thus planned on making things difficult for Sun Mo. It was also that they could get into Vice Headmaster Zhang's good books. However, no one dared to speak up now. Sun Mo calculated the time and knew that the class was going to end soon. What should he say next? Maybe he should try to win some popularity for his public lectures. However, before Sun Mo could say anything, a voice rang out. Fang Chen doesn't have the right to ask, but I should have, right? Feng Ziyuan looked at Sun Mo. As a one-star great teacher, it would be below him to pose a question to Sun Mo, regardless if he ended up winning or not. However, he couldn't keep his rage in check. He had prepared a couple of ways to deal with Sun Mo. Duan Wu had been chased out, not even given a chance to ask any questions. Fan Ding was worse. He was going to be expelled. Out of his students, he had admired Fan Ding the most. He had been hoping that Fan Ding would be able to get into the Green Cloud rankings, but now, everything was over. The reason why Feng Ziyuan was unable to become a 2-star great teacher was because he didn't have any students on the Green Cloud rankings. Now that Sun Mo had destroyed Fan Ding, who had the greatest chance of getting into the Green Cloud rankings, it had completely cut off Feng Ziyuan's path to gaining stars. To a teacher, this was a great feud comparable to that of killing one's parents. If he didn't stomp Sun Mo down today, then Feng Ziyuan wouldn't be able to vent the frustration in his heart. Oh, it's Teacher Feng, a 1-star great teacher. Of course, you have the right to. Please go ahead. Sun Mo had been waiting for this. The fact that you managed to recruit 5 students means that they believe in you. Then let me ask you, what specialty do you have to convince them to become your disciples? Feng Ziyuan spoke in a tone as if he was asking for Sun Mo's guidance. Gixuk Sun, who wasn't seated far off, drew in a cold gasp. Although this question might appear to be him humbly asking Sun Mo for his strengths, it was in fact a question that had hidden malice. If Sun Mo were to give a reply, Feng Ziyuan would definitely target Sun Mo until he was left speechless. This would prove that Sun Mo's strength was actually useless. Never look down on 1-star great teachers. They definitely had the capability to go to the extent. Feng Ziyuan is planning to deal Sun Mo a lethal blow in the area he specializes in. Zhu Shani aside. We are all teachers. Do we have to be relentless toward each other? If your best student was destroyed by someone else, would you be able to hold it in? Jiang Yongnian felt that this was very normal. What do I excel in? Sun Mo smiled and glanced around the classroom. Teacher Feng's students are around as well, right? Why don't you get them to stand up for me to take a look? Stand up. Feng Ziyuan gave the word. 12 students immediately stood up, looking at Sun Mo with an unfriendly gaze. They knew of the arranged duel between Feng Ziyuan and Sun Mo. Therefore, they'd definitely come to cheer on their teacher. Sun Mo walked up to a female student and laughed softly. What's your name? What is Sun Mo doing? Gixuk Sun frowned and then thought of a possibility. He can't possibly be wanting to give these students guidance on the spot, right? This was the best way to prove his teaching capabilities. However, it was too difficult. These 10 or more students were Feng Ziyuan's personal disciples. They'd be hostile against Sun Mo. Zhang Hanfu smiled. Sun Mo was too arrogant. If he knew how to restrain himself, he might be able to stay in school for a few more days. Now that he had angered Feng Ziyuan and gotten him involved personally, the outcome was within expectations. Things were over for Sun Mo. The same thought appeared in the mind of all the teachers present. It was true that Sun Mo's performance had been quite good, but there was no way that he'd win against a 1-star great teacher. Chapter 87, Performance Time. Gao Ben had been frowning for a full 5 minutes already. Just what was happening outside? Why was it so noisy? It seemed like someone had shouted just now that a teacher had fainted. However, Gao Ben didn't have the mood to care about such things. He looked at the 10 over students left in the classroom and felt so unhappy that he wanted to scold someone. After the lesson ends, I must go and give feedback to Xin Hui. During lessons, noise and commotion should be prohibited in the teaching building. Violators shall be punished severely. Gao Ben felt depressed because these students were too unstable. They had gone to watch the commotion outside. Didn't they know that they should be cherishing this opportunity and listen to my lecture? However, this time, Gao Ben was afraid that his first public lecture's attendance wouldn't beat Gixuk Sun's, making him furious. To beat Sun Mo and Zhang Lan, what meaning did it serve? Qin wrong. The girl replied. Her bearing was very natural and unrestrained. What's your cultivation level? Sun Mo seemed to be inquiring, but he had already known the answer. From his divine sight, he already had a panoramic view of Qin Rong's data. 15 years old, 9th level of body refinement realm. Strength, 8, even though she isn't a violent girl, her punch can kill a cow. Intellect, 7, IQ has exceeded average statistics. Agility, 9, this is her advantage. Will, 3, She is extremely anxious recently. Potential value high. Remark: she tried 3 times to break through to the spirit refinement realm but failed, all due to various reasons. As such, it left a huge phobia in her heart. If she wasn't coached to walk out of this plight in time, her whole future would be gone. Body refinement realm, 9th level. After Qin Rong finished saying, she heard the sounds of exclamation coming from her surroundings. Through her peripheral vision, she could even see the gazes of envy cast by the students. However, she didn't feel proud at all because she had already been stuck in this realm for as long as half a year. This had already left a huge mental pressure on Qin Rong. What would she do if she were to fail again at breaking through? Sun Mo was asking the questions randomly, all were pertaining to cultivation. Qin Rong was indeed worthy to be the personal disciple chosen by Feng Zhuan. Not only was her potential value high, but her way of answering Sun Mo's questions was also clear, orderly, and logical. Humphrey. Feng Zhuan snorted proudly. Trying to find loopholes on my student to attack me? Dream on. Why didn't you try to break through to the spirit refinement realm? If you were to step into the spirit refinement realm at 15 years old, that will be a dazzling achievement. Sun Mo purposely induced the topic. When he had been browsing through the student's data just now, he had been paying special attention to see if Feng Zhuan's personal disciple was around. Since he knew that Feng Zhuan would definitely raise difficult questions and his student would surely become his carriage runner, Sun Mo had been looking at the remarks of these 10 over students. He had already started to ponder over how to make use of them to counterattack. Now, the opportunity had arrived. Qin Rong's expression became gloomy. Sun Mo's words made sense and she certainly understood. If she had succeeded, she would be highly regarded by Teacher Feng. Whether it was coaching or resources, it would all be inclined toward her. However, she had failed 3 times. This had consumed all of the teacher's patience. When she had failed to break through for the first time, her teacher had been worried and had comforted her. However, when she had failed for the second time, her teacher had felt more disappointment instead. As for the third time, Qin Rong simply didn't dare to tell her teacher as she couldn't bear the consequences. Even though they were all students from the same teacher, there was a difference between them. A good student would always receive some preferential treatment. However, Qin Rong's failures had proven that she was of an inferior standard. Even though Feng Zhuan didn't chase Qin Rong away, the regard he had for her had naturally decreased. You've failed 3 times already, haven't you? Sun Mo touched Qin Rong's shoulder. Upon hearing the words 3 times, Qin Rong was like a wild cat whose tail had been stepped on. The hair on her whole body stood up and she let out a scream. No, I didn't. Qin Rong tried to deny it at all costs. 2 times, only 2 times. When she was saying those, Qin Rong subconsciously looked at Feng Zhuan secretly. Her gaze was filled with fear and anxiousness, and she was so scared that he would find out. Seeing how Qin Rong's reaction was so intense, some of the teachers guessed that Sun Mo had predicted correctly. The first try was 7 months ago. The second try was 5 months ago, and the third try was 2.5 months back. Sun Mo spoke bluntly. Qin Rong's mouth opened wide and she was dumbstruck. How did he find out? The timing that he had mentioned was not wrong at all, but she started to refute while quivering and trembling. No, I didn't. You're spouting nonsense. Qin Rong's pleading gaze was set at Feng Zhuan. Teacher, please don't believe his words. Sun Mo, are you done? Feng Zhuan frowned. Sun Mo didn't respond to Feng Zhuan. Rather, he grabbed Qin Rong's shoulders violently. He stared into her eyes and shouted, look at me. Qin Rong subconsciously looked at Sun Mo, a deep sense of fear filling up her gaze. At the same time, there was a slight trace of admiration. There wasn't anything she could do about it. Since Sun Mo had predicted correctly, Qin Rong's heart was shaken. This was something even her own teacher couldn't have done. Qin Rong, everyone's cultivation path will not be smooth sailing. Even if that someone was a saint, they would fall as well and have to stand up to repeat the process incessantly. Qin Rong, we as cultivators aren't afraid of falling. We're scared of not being able to stand up after it. Isn't it just failing to break through? You should continue trying, So what if you fail for the fourth or fifth time? You're still young. A lot of people your age are still struggling with the fifth or sixth level of body refinement. Sun Mo's voice got louder as he spoke. Hearing this, the worry in Qin Rong's gaze disappeared eventually. She regained some vigor in her eyes. Yes, my cultivation realm is already higher than those at my age. This permits myself to fail a few more times. Qin Rong, think of the times when you were still young and how you have come so far. Have you always been complimented by your parents and teachers? Have the students around you been envious of you? Qin Rong, you're a talent without controversy. You must believe in yourself. You're just pausing temporarily, taking a rest. Once you've finished resting, you'll continue on your journey. You'll continue to be the talented Qin Rong who's been praised by parents and teachers and envied by students. Sun Mo's words were heartfelt. Looking at her potential value, she was definitely worthy of being titled as a talent. Being a teacher, what Sun Mo couldn't stand watching was the fall of a talent. Hence, even if Qin Rong was Feng Ziyuan's student, he was still genuinely hoping that the girl could pull herself together. Qin Rong's eyes became brighter and her gaze was overflowing with confidence and pride. Yes, I've been covered with praises throughout my own journey. Isn't it just failing to break through to the spirit refinement realm? What am I afraid of? Qin Rong, look behind you. Those who are inferior to you are almost chasing you. Don't tell me you're willing to be overtaken by them. As he was finishing his words, Sun Mo started yelling. The entire classroom was filled with his echoes. At the same time, there were golden rays of light shining on Sun Mo's body. The scattering brilliant rays engulfed the entire classroom. Priceless advice. The students and teachers who were present were all dumbstruck. This was the great teacher halo. Those faculae sprinkled onto Qin Rong's body, and the area surrounding her body was dense with golden light rays. However, she hadn't even noticed this. She looked at Sun Mo, and there was only passion and determination in her eyes. No, I'm a talent. I will not let anyone overtake me. Bang! After she finished her sentence, a puff of spirit chi exploded from her body. Then, the spirit chi from all directions came converging frantically. What is happening? Breakthrough. That's right. This is a breakthrough. Oh my god, she's actually breaking through at this time? The students were all in extreme shock. How awesome, my fiancée. Xin Hui was a little startled. She didn't expect that Sun Mo would have chosen this way of striking back. Has he been computing this all along? Or was he just lucky to have done this by chance? Lu Xiaoyu grabbed onto Li Ziqi's clothes firmly. She was so nervous that she shut her big eyes, not daring to watch anymore. Feng Ziyuan's brows furrowed tightly. His current feelings were complicated. He was hoping that his student would break through successfully but also hoped that she wouldn't. Because once she stepped into the spirit refinement realm, it would all be Sun Mo's credit. However, after a few seconds, Feng Ziyuan tossed this thought aside. His eyes were now left with only worry and regret. I should have shown more concern for Qin Rong. Sun Mo stood at the side with an unperturbed expression. He had done what he needed to do. It was now time to see the outcome. Qin Rong was a talent with high potential value. Even though she had continuously failed to break through, it also meant that her accumulation was sufficient now. What she was missing was just the right mental state. Spirit Refinement Realm was named as such because it was about the tempering of one's will. One shouldn't be confused by external things and should have tenacious willpower and a powerful soul. Qin Rong had failed because she had been excessively worried about personal gains and losses. Now, she had been encouraged by Sun Mo's speech and had the assistance of priceless advice. At this moment, her will was at a full 10 and there wasn't any apprehension anymore. Bang, bang, bang. The spirit chi from around Qin Rong's body exploded and scattered. It started to blow up the dust on the ground, as well as everyone's hair and clothes. The entire classroom was in absolute silence, and everyone's gazes were fixated on Qin Rong. This young lady was just like a fresh flower in the summertime. At the age of 15, she had stepped into the spirit refinement realm. I've succeeded. Qin Rong looked at Sun Mo while crying tears of joys. Then, she stood firm on both feet and bent her back in a deep bow. Teacher Sun, thank you. The girl's voice flew out the window. It seemed just like a bird soaring without restraint between the blue sky and white clouds. Anyone could tell that Qin Rong's thank you was overflowing with gratitude. respect, and even a slight tinge of worship. Looking at this scene, Feng Zhuan, who originally seemed like a bulldog wanting to tear Sun Mo into shreds any time, had become a deflated ball. Now, he was like a rather decrepit person. I've lost through and through. Qi Shengjie couldn't control the excitement in his heart anymore. He stood up and shouted, "Teacher Sun, how formidable." Chapter 88, flooded with favorable impression points. Hearing the shouting voice, Lu Xiaoyuo opened her eyes and saw that Qin Rong was facing Sun Mo with a deep bow. "I've only done an insignificant thing. You were able to succeed because you're indeed a talent." Sun Mo praised. The smile on his face, coupled with the sunshine's warmth, was filled with approachability. It gave people a warm feeling in their hearts. Hearing this sentence, the students immediately developed a higher favorable impression toward Sun Mo. This female student called Qin Rong was able to step into the spirit refinement realm because of Sun Mo's encouragement. It was because of the powerful effect of his priceless advice, but he didn't claim the credit for himself. Instead, he was praising Qin Rong's aptitude. Such encouragement could allow Qin Rong's confidence to increase greatly. "Thank you." Qin Rong choked with emotions as she recalled her experiences through the past half a year. Every time she failed to break through, the mixture of panic, disappointment, fear, and self-doubt would be aggravated. It felt like a piece of dark cloud enveloping over her head and wouldn't go away for the entire day. How Qin Rong hoped to find someone to spill her feelings. Now, the dark cloud had disappeared. Looking at Sun Mo's face that had distinct protrusion and how he was looking at herself with a gaze that was admiring a talent, Qin Rong felt proud and shy at the same time. "Teacher Sun, thank you." Qin Rong wiped her tears and bowed down once again. Then, she turned toward Feng Zhuan and kneeled immediately. "Teacher, I'm sorry." Why was she apologizing? A lot of students didn't understand. However, many teachers let out expressions of envy. What a good student Feng Zhuan had. Qin Rong apologized because she had stepped into the spirit refinement realm under the great teacher halo of Sun Mo. Toward Feng Zhuan, this was considered a huge humiliation. As a disciple, one must never allow her teacher to be humiliated, so Qin Rong kneeled for an apology. "Get up." Feng Zhuan helped Qin Rong up, patted her shoulders, and said with an ashamed expression, "It's me who has not been giving you ample care and concern. If I had found out this problem earlier, you would have entered the spirit refinement realm 3 months ago." "Teacher." Qin Rong covered her mouth in shock. She hadn't expected that Teacher Feng, who had always been strict, would have said these words. "Teacher Sun, I've lost." Feng Zhuan looked toward Sun Mo. "Thank you." Hearing Feng Zhuan's declaration, the entire audience was stunned, especially those intern teachers. Their faces instantly revealed priceless expressions. One must know that Feng Zhuan was a 1-star great teacher, and what about Sun Mo? He had just been employed recently, and this was only his first public lecture. He had unexpectedly made a great teacher personally admit defeat in such a public setting. What an awesome achievement this was. If this was spread out, he could flaunt about it for several years. This was unexpected for Sun Mo. He thought that he would suffer tougher and crazier counterattacks from Feng Zhuan, but he didn't expect that Feng Zhuan would admit defeat so efficiently. What a magnanimous heart he had. Suddenly, Sun Mo didn't hate Feng Zhuan as much. Also, his earlier preparations to use pregnancy imprint 1, no, soul imprint, was of no use now. That was very good. He could leave it until next time and use it for an overkill. "I've only done an insignificant thing." Sun Mo knew that he had to be more humble at such times. "Teacher Sun, I hereby congratulate you beforehand for your future achievements. The few of you, let's go." Feng Zhuan finished saying his words and called out for his students to leave the classroom. However, just as he was stepping out the door, he added, "I'll pay the price. Since I've lost the bet, I'll be sending 3 buckets of Liang Province scrape brew to your office later on." Feng Zhuan left and the lecture theater, which was filled with more than 300 people, had quietened down. All the gazes were now fixated on Sun Mo, the new teacher who had made a 1-star great teacher admit his defeat. "Why is it not me who was standing there?" Many intern teachers looked at Sun Mo and developed this thought. They were extremely envious of him. But soon after, Such feelings turned into disappointment and inferiority. Even if they could stand on that spot, it was impossible for them to reach Sun Mo's level. He wasn't someone living off a woman. He was genuinely brimming with talent. I've already said, for a woman like Headmaster and Xin Huai, how could she have taken a fancy for a moron? Lu Dai laughed at himself. What a pity. As Sun Mo's roommate, he had many opportunities to develop a closer relationship with him, but Lu Dai had never made use of them. Sigh, he didn't know if there was still time to make up for it now. Pyuk, 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 pyuk. Sounds of applause started to echo. From scattered claps to passionate claps, the sounds of applause filled up the entire classroom in an instant. At Gao Ben's public lecture. What's going on? It was a fluctuating spirit chi just now, and now it is such noisy applause. What a huge commotion. This won't do, I must go and take a look. We'll go too. The students couldn't continue sitting anymore. They started to bend their lower backs and evacuated from the back door of the classroom. When Gao Ben finished writing on the blackboard and turned his head over, he was immediately stunned. The entire classroom was left with only 4 students, and they were all his personal students. Because of the violent fluctuation of the spirit chi, many students had run out of his class and there had not been many left. However, after this burst of applause, the rest of the students were gone as well. Gao Ben knew that he had to maintain a teacher's demeanor and shouldn't get angry, but he couldn't bear with it. It was all ruined. His first public lecture was ruined. Just what was going on outside? How can the class environment in Central Province Academy be so terrible? Gao Ben grumbled and suddenly regretted his choice of coming to this school. The 4 students looked at each other in dismay. Finally, a male student asked courageously, "Teacher, there seems to be some situation going on outside. Why don't we go and take a look? Perhaps we can be of some help." "You just want to go where the crowd is, don't you?" Gao Ben was spot on about the male student's intentions. Continue with the lesson. Even though he said it like this, Gao Ben was just acting in a fit of pique. His entire mind was filled with indignance and unwillingness. Thus, his train of thought for the lesson had long since been cut off. He had just taken his first step in his teacher's career and had already sprained his foot. What the fuck? Hold on. Didn't he have 5 personal disciples? Gao Ben raised his head and ran his eyes through the classroom. He realized that there were only 4 of them. Fuck, where did Fu Zhao go? Gao Ben couldn't bear with this anymore and exploded. "I'm your teacher, how can you not listen to my lesson? I must peel your skin off later." The applause lasted for a long while without breaking. At this moment, many students had gathered outside the lecture theater of Sun Mo to watch the scene. The continuous successful breakthroughs of 2 students had caused 2 eruptions of fluctuating spirit chi, attracting a large number of spectators. Some students were inquiring, and after knowing what had happened, their faces filled with regret. Why didn't they come earlier to snatch a seat in the class? "Teacher is so awesome. Teacher is so awesome." Lu Xiaoyuo clapped her little hands excitedly and couldn't stop repeating this sentence. Ding. Favorable impression points from Lu Xiaoyuo +30. Friendly. 368 1/1000ths. That was natural. I've already guessed this outcome. Li Ziki looked at Sun Mo and felt prouder of herself for choosing the right teacher. Ding. Favorable impression points from Li Ziki +20. Friendly. 176 1/1000ths. Hearing the system's notification, Sun Mo couldn't help but turn his head to look at his 5 students. They were now seated in the first row and looking at him. Taking notice of Sun Mo's gaze, Dan Taiyutang let out a smile. Xuan Yunpo still looked bored and was clapping his hands restlessly. Seeing his appearance, it seemed that he wanted to leave earlier to cultivate. When Jiang Leng saw that Sun Mo was looking over, he squeezed out a smile as well. Ding. Favorable impression points from Jiang Leng +5, neutral. 75 1/100ths. Sun Mo's eyelids were twitching. These 3 students of his were not easy to deal with. Tan Taiyutang, this mental person, even though he was only 14 years old, an ordinary person would never be able to guess his way of thinking. As for Xuan Yunpo, who didn't contribute any favorable impression points, Sun Mo had already predicted it. He was a combat addict. Except for cultivation, combat, and fighting, He wasn't concerned about other things. But Jiang Leng, why was he so weird? Why did you contribute 5 favorable impression points just because I looked at you? Why was it not because you were impressed with my brilliant performance of how I carried the entire atmosphere? Vice Headmaster Zhang, what do you think of Sun Mo's performance? Xin Hua inquired. Humphrey. Zhang Hanfu snorted coldly with an extremely ugly expression. Also, this Feng Zhuan was indeed useless. He was even unable to deal with a newly employed teacher. Looking at Zhang Hanfu's appearance, Xin Hua only felt a thrill in her heart. Having dealt with resentment for more than half a year, she finally had an outlet. Ding. Favorable impression points from Xin Hua plus 10, neutral, 15 100ths. Having received the favorable impression points from his fiancée, Sun Mo pouted. Finally it wasn't just +1. The public lecture had not ended, and just as Sun Mo was about to say something, the data of plus favorable impression points flooded his left eye, like a waterfall with streams of water flowing downward. Congratulations host, you've received a total of plus 526 favorable impression points. These favorable impression points are mostly because you've helped the 2 students to break through and have been acknowledged by the students for your ability. At the same time, a small portion of teachers admire you and yielded 10 over favorable impression points. The system explained. I'm so outstanding and they only contributed over 10 favorable impression points. Sun Mo felt astonished. You should be content. Teachers are prideful creatures, especially great teachers. They basically will not be convinced by anyone. Just look at Feng Zhuan, even though he admitted defeat. Did he yield any favorable impression points? Absolutely none. The system scoffed. Sun Mo, remember, even if you defeat 100 great teachers, you may not even receive admiration from one great teacher in your lifetime. I don't believe this. Sun Mo was unhappy, and just as he spoke those 3 words, the system's notification rang. Ding. Mission announcement. Please obtain a teacher's admiration from the bottom of his heart within a year. You'll be rewarded with a diamond treasure chest. If you fail, you'll be given a cruel punishment. Must you be so ruthless? Sun Mo was speechless, but seeing that the prize was a diamond treasure chest, he knew that the system wasn't lying. In order to receive admiration from a teacher, it was indeed difficult. Actually, Sun Mo knew that the system was not wrong. Gixuk-sun didn't give any favorable impression points, and neither did Gin Muji. If I'm truly ruthless, I'll make you obtain the admiration of a great teacher. The system snorted coldly. I was already saving some face for you. This won't do. I need to think of some happy things, or else, I'm afraid I can't help but beat you up. Sun Mo breathed in deeply. His favorable impression points had surpassed 2,000. How great. It felt as though he was a local wealthy man now. He planned to visit the shopping store to purchase a star moon fruit later. However, before that, he still had something to say. Sun Mo returned to the rostrum and swept his gaze across everyone present. Who else still harbors suspicions toward me? You can now stand up and ask your question. Sun Mo's voice caused the noisy classroom to quieten down instantly. 1. Raws for the 2 terms are comma dot. The author is trying to make a pun. Chapter 89. I give full marks. Not afraid that you'll be proud. The students knew that Sun Mo's question was directed toward the teachers. Therefore, they turned to look at them. The intern teachers exchanged glances, then looked toward Gixuk-sun. Raise questions? No kidding. Sun Mo had grasped 2 great teacher halos. He only needed to grasp 1 more to be able to attend the St. Gates 1-star great teachers qualification exam. His level had far surpassed the rest. Only Gixuk-sun and the other 3 would be able to compete against him. No, it was 3 of them and not 4. It was because Qin Fen, who had graduated from Jixia Learning Palace, had already lost. Gixuk-sun, being watched by everyone, frowned. She thought to herself, Sun Mo, that's enough. Can't you save some face for the rest? Sun Mo was now doing very well. Even people who weren't that clever should know that they should keep their distance from his attacks. Seeing that Gixuk-sun didn't show any reaction, the intern teachers then looked toward the senior teachers. The senior teachers clapped. ignoring these people's gazes. Even though teachers from Jiang Hanfu's faction weren't pleased with Sun Mo, they understood that this wasn't a time for them to create trouble. Moreover, it seemed that Sun Mo had some capabilities. If they attempted to create trouble without any planning in advance, they might end up to be the ones suffering. Sun Mo smiled and looked toward Jiang Hanfu. Vice Headmaster Jiang, you've lowered your stance and came to my public lecture. Aren't you going to ask a few questions? The students knew nothing about the conflict between the school's management, but the senior teachers did. Hearing Sun Mo's question, their eyes almost popped out. This was even more astonishing than the fact that Sun Mo had grasped 2 great teacher halos. He is too arrogant. Jiang Yongnian's lips twitched. That's right. Jiang Hanfu is going to hate him to death. There won't be any way to salvage their relationship. Zhu Shani sighed. He detested such conflicts the most. Couldn't everyone just focus on teaching and get along harmoniously? Even though Sun Mo looked as if he was asking for guidance, he was in fact openly sneering at Jiang Hanfu. Weren't you here to see me make a fool of myself? You can't laugh now, right? Kaka. Jiang Hanfu shattered the chair's handle. How dare this bastard sneer at me? You don't have questions? I didn't expect that you'd be so pleased with me. Sun Mo teased. Zilin couldn't help but smile after seeing Jiang Hanfu stumbled. However, at the thought of how this was caused by Sun Mo, he felt a little displeased. Sun Mo, you're already so good when you've just become an official teacher. I believe that within a year, you'll become the #1 great teacher in Jinling. Don't disappoint me. After saying that, Jiang Hanfu brushed his sleeves to the side and left. Hearing Vice Headmaster Jiang's praise for Sun Mo, many naive intern teachers wore envious gazes. Only the senior teachers knew that Sun Mo had gotten into big trouble. Clank, clank, clank. The bell rang. It was time for the class to end. All right, today's public lecture will end here. Thanks to all the teachers and students who have come to listen to my class. Sun Mo displayed the smile he had practiced repeatedly, appearing very amicable. I'll start teaching officially from next Monday. Anyone interested can come to the class. Thank you. Clap clap clap. A round of applause rang out, not out of courtesy, but because they were truly satisfied with this public lecture. All the best, Teacher Sun. Teacher Sun, I have a question. Can I ask for your guidance? Teacher Sun, my learning condition hasn't been good lately. Can you use priceless advice to give me some encouragement? To the students who didn't have any teachers, if they wished to have their questions resolved and gain improvement, they'd have to grab hold of all chances possible. Therefore, when Sun Mo announced that the class had ended, they immediately came crowding over. There was only a 10 minutes break between classes, so Sun Mo could only answer 3 questions at most. Don't squeeze. Queue up over here. Otherwise, given how messy you guys are, no one will be able to get any answers. Li Ziki immediately jumped out to maintain order. The students glanced at Li Ziki and didn't pay her any heed. Battle freak. Ugh. After Li Ziki said that, she immediately said, Xuan Yunpo, quickly come to help maintain the order. Can I beat people up? Xuan Yunpo's eyes lit up, and he grabbed onto his spear. No. Li Ziki waved her hand helplessly. Forget it, you don't have to come. Li Ziki looked around. Forget about Tantayutang. He was holding onto a handkerchief and covering his mouth, coughing incessantly. He looked as if he was going to die at any moment. Jiang Leng emitted an icy cold aura that seemed to say for all living humans to get lost. He gave off the feeling as if he was a corpse that had just been dug out from the snow. As for Lu Xiaoyuo, what use did she have other than having a big bust? Alright everyone, please leave the classroom and don't affect the next teacher's class. I'm the Central Province Academy's teacher now, so you guys can come to ask me questions at any time. Sun Mo was unable to move. Many students continued to speak up next to him. The situation was a mess, and he wasn't able to give anyone any guidance at all. The intern teachers were leaving the lecture theater when they saw this scene. They felt so envious that it was as if they were going to drool. I also want to be surrounded by so many students asking me for my guidance. By the way, Ludai, I remember that you also graduated from Zhongzhou Academy, right? You're Sun Mo's schoolmate. Do you know what is with his ancient dragon capturing hands? A slightly ugly person asked curiously. He had just asked this question when the intern teachers in the vicinity all turned their heads immediately, their eyes gleaming as they looked toward Ludai. Ludai was given a shock and quickly explained, I don't know. I didn't hear about it in the past. Hey, if you have any insider news, then share it with everyone. Don't keep it to yourself. The ugly guy hooked his arm around Ludai's shoulder. I really don't know. Ludai seemed to be on the verge of tearing up. He was worried that everyone would think of him as a selfish person. I'm not close with Sun Mo. Seeing that Ludai really didn't know anything, the other intern teachers immediately ignored him as if he was a piece of used dish towel. However, the conversation continued in their smaller circles. Sun Mo was able to find out how many times that Qin Rong had failed to break through to the next level just by touching her muscles. That's too amazing. He was even able to accurately tell the time she had failed. The ancient dragon capturing hands? This name has a dominant air to it. Can Sun Mo's hands be considered god hands? In the world of great teachers, most of them would rely on their experience and judgment to pick students. There'd also be an observation period of several months. However, extremely few great teachers could rely on their hands to touch a student and find out their aptitude. In the world of great teachers, the hands of these rare number of great teachers had a public recognition of being called the god hands. Thinking that Sun Mo could possibly possess the god hands, everyone was immediately filled with envy. Zilin saw Aung Xin standing in the corridors and asked, Eldest Miss, you aren't leaving yet? I'm waiting for Sun Mo. Aung Xin looked at her female assistant, wanting to let her relationship with Sun Mo get better. Why don't we have a meal together? I'm not hungry. Zilin rejected. I admit that Sun Mo's performance today is astonishing, but he is still far from being a good match for you or catching up to Liu Mubai. He can wait until he is steadily one notch above Gixuk-sun, Gao Ben, and Zhang Lan. After saying that, Zilin turned to leave. In her heart, she did recognize Sun Mo's performance. No teacher had displayed such an astonishing first showcase for the past 10 years in the Central Province Academy. Liu Mubai's first public lecture had also been brilliant, but it was still not this spectacular. Little Lin is too stubborn. There aren't many men in the entire Middle Earth's 9 provinces who can be a good match for you. Jin Muji shook her head. Aung Xin didn't wish to discuss this, so she diverted the conversation. How many points do you give for Sun Mo's first showcase? Full marks, not a score less. I'm not afraid that he'd be proud. Jin Muji smiled. She was very satisfied with Sun Mo's performance. Whether it was his eloquence, adaptability, or skills, he had the full package. Hence, he was free and unconstrained on the rostrum. You rate him really high. Aung Xin was surprised. Being close friends with Jin Muji, Aung Xin knew that she had high expectations when looking at other teachers. To be honest, I feel that this isn't the first time he is on the rostrum. He seems to be familiar with it. Jin Muji couldn't understand. Even if a person had practiced multiple times in private, they wouldn't be able to produce such an effect. This meant that Sun Mo was born to be a teacher. Sun Mo left the lecture theater. Gixuk-sun, who was answering a student's question, spoke quicker, and after finishing up, she went and caught up to Sun Mo. Teacher Sun, Gixuk-sun called out. She was planning to treat Sun Mo to a meal. Sun Mo was Aung Xin fiancée. This meant that they were allies from the same team and should work together to build up their relationship. Of course, it would be even better if they could have a talk about ancient dragon capturing hands. Aung Xin and Jin Muji also walked over. Headmaster and Teacher Jin. Gixuk-sun greeted. Headmaster and Teacher Jin. Sun Mo suddenly felt a little blinded. These 3 were all beautiful women, so he found it a little hard to take them on all together. Sun Mo, do you want to have a meal together? As a 3-star great teacher, Jin Muji was pressed for time and thus couldn't be bothered with the formalities. She went straight to the point. A hint of surprise flashed past Gixuk-sun's eyes. To think that Jin Muji would invite Sun Mo to a meal. How much admiration did she have for him? However, Gixuk-sun was at a loss. It was a goner. Jin Muji had beaten her to it. I'm sorry, I don't have time. Sun Mo shrugged with his hands out. Huh? Gixuk-sun was stunned and almost shot out. Are you an idiot? A 3-star great teacher had taken the initiative to invite him to a meal, but he had rejected it. Given Jin Muji's status, she was the one who usually refused people's invitation. And these people would tend to be influential characters. Jin Muji was a little stunned as well. Xin Huai looked at Sun Mo in surprise. She suddenly felt like asking, "What have you been through in Zhongzhou Academy? Do you guys have any other matters? If not, then I'll be leaving." Sun Mo was really busy. The petty system had given him a mission to draw 1,000 spirit gathering runes in a month. If he couldn't complete it, he would get punished and his skills grade would drop. That was something that he relied on for a living, so how could he possibly have time to waste? The three beauties had met too many people who wanted to curry up to them. But now that they came across such a unique person like Sun Mo, they had no idea how they should react. Oh my, this feeling is so strange. Chapter 90, Generous Rewards. My teacher is awesome. Li Ziqi, who was following behind, felt that Sun Mo was extremely impressive. He even dared to reject the invitation of a 3-star great teacher. One must know that if other teachers were in his place, even if they knew they had to eat dog shit, they would still accept the invitation. Moreover, they would be swallowing the dog shit with a smile on their faces. Ding. Favorable impression points from Li Ziqi plus 10. Current state, friendly, 186 1,000ths. Lu Xiruo blinked. She didn't understand the ways of the world. Hence, she didn't feel that it was a problem that Sun Mo had rejected the invitation of another teacher for a meal. Jiang Leng lowered his head, not caring about this. Tan Yutang placed his hands behind his head and was surveying the four people ahead with interest. He was speculating whether Sun Mo was using reverse psychology or not. As for Xuan Yunpo, the combat addict had a brain full of muscles. Hence, he spoke very directly. "Teacher, I'm going to look for a fight." After speaking, Xuan Yunpo didn't wait for Sun Mo to reply and left directly. Upon hearing this, Li Ziqi couldn't help but rub her glabella. Out of Sun Mo's 5 personal disciples, Xuan Yunpo was the one with the highest publicly acknowledged talent. However, his IQ was clearly not too high. Before a headmaster, a 3-star great teacher, and 2 teachers, you actually say that you are going to fight someone? Do you treat the school's rules as non-existent? Can't you be more tactful and say you are going for a spar instead? Sun Mo was speechless. How do you want me to reply to this? Given Sun Mo's understanding of Xuan Yunpo, if he told him not to fight, Xuan Yunpo wouldn't listen. And if he tried to convince him and was rejected before so many people, Sun Mo would only be embarrassed. However, if he didn't say anything, given that the headmaster and other teachers were present, others might doubt his teaching attitude. Could it be that when a student said he was going to fight, the teacher didn't even want to care about it? As expected, the gazes of the 3 beauties all landed on Sun Mo. They were waiting for his response. This was especially so for Gixuk-sun. She had a look on her face like she was waiting to watch a good show. Go and find someone in the senior years to fight then. Sun Mo's expression was calm. Also, I'll formally start my lesson tomorrow morning. Gather at the entrance of the teaching building by 8 a.m. I will definitely not find people from the lower years. I'm afraid I might beat them to death. Xuan Yunpo answered as though it was proper and a matter of course. A few senior students heard this when they passed by. They involuntarily frowned and turned their heads to look at Xuan Yunpo. There was no need to ask any questions. This young man must be a student that recently joined them. This was why he didn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. There would always be genius students who thought very highly of themselves every year. These students would then challenge the seniors, and after being taught a lesson, only then did they realize that they weren't geniuses. They were just cabbages. There's nothing more going on. You guys can take your leave. Sun Mo instructed his other students. Li Ziqi and Lu Xiruo didn't move, but Tan Yutang and Jiang Leng immediately departed. If you guys have nothing else to talk about, I'm leaving now. Sun Mo subconsciously raised his hand and looked at his watch. Sadly, his wrist was empty. He no longer had the mechanical watch he had bought using his monthly salary. Teacher. Li Ziqi quietly tugged on Sun Mo's sleeves. She then smiled as she praised, Teacher Jin Muji is a 3-star teacher. She is very famous in Jinling City. Li Ziqi's meaning was very simple. Jin Muji was one of the big bosses in the Central Province Academy. If Sun Mo could forge a good relationship with her and she was willing to guide him, his teaching career would be much smoother. Upon seeing this scene, Gixuk-sun felt somewhat envious. Li Ziqi truly had a pure heart and spirit. On the surface, she appeared to be praising Jin Muji, but in actuality, she was reminding Sun Mo not to neglect or slight Jin Muji. I wonder why Li Ziqi is so determined to take Sun Mo as her teacher. When she thought of Li Ziqi's background, the envy in Gixuk-sun's heart became envy. However, she smiled shortly after. Li Ziqi was really good, but it wasn't so easy to be her teacher. At the very least, Li Ziqi's aunt wouldn't agree so easily. No man had ever rejected Jin Muji before. Hence, she was a bit at a loss of what to do after the rejection. She decided to remain silent. She invited Sun Mo for a meal because other than admiring his performance today, she also planned to get him to massage her. She would definitely feel embarrassed to ask him directly, hence, she planned to ask in passing when they were having a meal. Sadly, there was no chance to do that now. Xin Hui wanted to warn Sun Mo to be careful of Zhang Hanfu. That fellow had a narrow heart. Now that he had suffered such a huge disadvantage today, Zhang Hanfu definitely wouldn't let things slide. However, she couldn't say this in front of the teachers and students present. Hence, she also chose to remain silent. Gixuk-sun had waited for Feng Ziyuan to make things difficult for Sun Mo before she stepped out to showcase her brilliance. But she didn't expect Sun Mo's performance to be so fascinating. There was basically no chance for her to stand up. Even Jin Muji was rejected. If I was the one who asked, I'm afraid I would be rejected as well. Gixuk-sun decided to invite Sun Mo for a meal another time. However, she truly wished to know what sort of cultivation art the ancient dragon capturing hands is. Each of these 3 women had different thoughts in their minds. Before they could think of what to reply, they already saw Sun Mo leaving directly. He really left with no hesitation at all. Lu Xiaoyuo immediately followed him. Gixuk-sun was stunned. Do you have to leave so directly? Teacher. After Li Ziqi bowed to Xin Hui and the 2 others, she also followed after Sun Mo. Xin Hui, your fiancé is truly quite capable. Jin Muji stared at Sun Mo's back. When she thought about his past performances, it seemed that the Central Province Academy would welcome a huge wave of impact this year. The gentle wind blew at the Chinese parasol tree, causing the tree's shadow on the ground to sway a little. System, my performance is still acceptable, right? Sun Mo asked from the bottom of his heart. Extremely well done. After the system replied, the sound of a system notification rang out. Ding! Congratulations, you have perfectly handled the students and teachers who tried to make things difficult for you during your first public lecture. Your debut is beautiful. Reward: 1x golden treasure chest. Ding! Congratulations to you for obtaining victory against Feng Ziyuan. Reward: 1x silver treasure chest. Firstly, a radiant golden treasure chest appeared before him. After that, a glorious silver treasure chest followed. Their glow was so bright that it was sufficient to dazzle his eyes. The system notification was pleasing to the ear, but Sun Mo actually frowned instead. Something is wrong. Since my debut is perfect, why am I not getting a diamond treasure chest? Because I'm afraid you might be too proud after this. The system replied in a candid manner. Instantly, 10,000 fuck your mom galloped across Sun Mo's heart. If it wasn't for the fact that 2 of his students were still following after him and that he was always a man that minded his image before his students, he would definitely unleash a string of curse words. In addition to the black iron treasure chest that he had obtained from accumulating 1,000 favorable impression points, Sun Mo had 3 treasure chests now. Now that he had high-tier treasure chests, would top-tier prizes still be far away? Hence, Sun Mo lifted his hand and stroked Lu Xiaoyuo's hair before stating the word open. In his heart, the golden treasure chest unlocked. Damn. Sun Mo truly couldn't endure it anymore. The chest I wanted to open is the black iron one. In the past, when Sun Mo played games, he would always open the treasure chest starting from the lowest tier. He would only open the best treasure chests after all his bad luck was used up on the lousy treasure chests. Although this was quite superstitious, Sun Mo felt that it was pretty useful. Even if it wasn't really useful in reality, it was a comfort to him psychologically. But now, the system had directly opened up the most valuable golden treasure chest. "I'm sorry, I don't know mind reading," the system explained. Sun Mo's heart was instantly filled with a flood of curse words. "Please mind your attitude. The system is very strict. If you continue to curse at the system, you will be given a punishment," the system warned. "System, didn't you say that you didn't know mind reading?" Now, Sun Mo understood that this fellow was truly narrow-minded. The golden glow faded, leaving behind a tattered map. From the color of the map, Sun Mo could tell that it was an ancient map. Ding! "Congratulations, you have obtained a fragmented map, 1/5. This map shows a certain terrain. If you want to see everything clearly, please piece together all 5 fragments." The material of the map was beast skin, and it had a good tactile feel to it. But as for the contents of the map, it was blurry and unclear. Does it take itself to be like Dragon Balls? Ref. Anime Dragon Ball. Sun Mo was depressed. In the past, he had also drawn a fragmented map. Now, he had a total of 2 pieces. However, things like this that depended on chance weren't too reliable. Who knew when he would finally get the 3rd piece? The main point was that even if he obtained all 5 pieces of the map, what if that map showed a location that was impossible for him to reach? Or if the danger level was too high? What should he do then? Honestly speaking, Sun Mo was somewhat disappointed that he had obtained a fragmented map piece from a golden treasure chest. Hence, this time around, he placed his hand fixedly on Lu Xiao's head. "Amen." The papaya girl inclined her head as she stared at Sun Mo in puzzlement. "I want to open the black iron treasure chest now, don't get it wrong," Sun Mo warned the system. The black iron treasure chest clicked open, revealing a dark glow. When the glow vanished, a fruit the size of a walnut remained. This fruit was silvery white on the surface. On the top half of it, there were pictures of stars, and on the other side, there was a picture of a bright crescent moon. The fruit silently floated before his eyes, shining brightly with light. Ding! Congratulations on obtaining 1x star moon fruit. This fruit can draw in the essence of the stars and moon, and it only matures after 100 years. After consuming it, you can make use of astral lunar force to cleanse your body, purify your blood, and force out the impurities in them. After that, your blood will contain the pure energy of astral lunar force. This fruit is a top-tier natural spirit medicine that cultivators at the blood ignition realm need the most. The system explained. Natural spirit medicine referred to items with medicinal effects that grew naturally in the world instead of being grown by humans. For spirit medicine like this, not only was the effect strong, but the side effects it caused the body would be minimal as well. How beautiful. Sun Mo was happy. He recalled seeing the star moon fruit being sold in the merchant store for 1,000 points per piece. He decided to try it. If the effect was good, he could buy one from the store again. In any case, right now he had a total of over 2,000 favorable impression points. He could afford to spend a little. When the host provided an act of guidance to a target and caused the target to generate goodwill, feelings of being impressed, or worship, or amiability, the host would be able to gain favorable impression points. Favorable impression points could be treated as a type of currency to be used in the system's merchant store to buy any item in there. This included but was not limited to skill books, various cultivation arts, maps, medicine, weapons, pets, etc. At the same time, as a host gained more and more favorable impression points from the same target, the relationship between them would gradually deepen. This relationship was known as the prestige connection and could be ranked like this from the lowest to the highest: indifferent, neutral, friendly, respect, reverence, and worship based on the number of favorable points. Sun Mo asked the system before about what would happen when the prestige connection between two people reached the worship level. The system didn't reply, but Sun Mo felt that there would surely be a huge benefit to it. Amen. Seeing Sun Mo touch Lu Xiao's head again, Li Ziqi felt a little unhappy as her lips pursed up. Sun Mo naturally saw Li Ziqi's reaction. However, he couldn't stretch his hand out to pat her head now. There was no solution to this as he still had a silver treasure chest that had yet to be opened. You are flat-chested, If I come in contact with you, my luck will suffer.